It isn't a proper Spa 24 hours without huge amounts of drama. That is what we've had so far in this, the fourth round of the Blancpain Endurance Series. And of course, this is a race in which points can be scored at the 6, the 12-hour marks, as well as at race duration 24 hours. It started wet, it is drier now than it has been race long. There's even some blue in the sky, but there's more rain potentially on its way. It's been busy, I tell you. Let's have a look at some of the highlights of the first few hours here in Belgium. It began on a wet road with pole position having gone the way of Frank Stippler, and although there was talk of it being a safety car start, it was the conventional rolling start formation that the cars were released under, and it was Kevin Est from the outside of row 1 of the grid who made the best getaway. He headed his teammate Alvaro Parent down towards Eau Rouge on the opening lap as Stippler was a bit sluggish away from the line. He fell to third ahead of the red Audi, the sister car from Team WRT with René Rast at the wheel. But we were only 4 corners into the first lap before we had the first casualty. Round went Frédéric Verviche. He was just clipped by the AF Corsa Ferrari of Tony Villander, and that, a lap later, would arrive sideways, then backwards, and then in the gravel. A brake caliper needed changing, maybe a legacy of that little brush that the two cars had. Guy Smith was getting Bentley number 7 up the order, and he was able to battle his way past the Mark VDS BMWs as the cars worked their way on what was still a treacherous road. Safety car 1, big impact, Gilles Duquesne, top of Radion, into the barriers, and the French driver was out of the race. Some drivers were really helped and some really hindered under the first safety car period. The green flags flew, we were back racing once more, but it wasn't long before we had a second interruption. A big off for Carrier Moget because his car had hit the barriers at the same place. The car was badly damaged, but more significantly, the barriers had taken a real whack. Carrier Moget massively frustrated. He was okay, but for the second year in a row, he'd suffered an off early in the race. And a stalwart enthusiast of sports car racing here at Spa, big disappointment for Karim. So, a lengthy safety car period in order to sort out the barrier damage, and that gave people a chance to try and play strategies. Some benefited again, some lost out. But what was becoming more and more significant under the lengthy safety car period that we had was that the road was just starting to dry a little bit. And because of the length of the barrier repairs, it was liable to become even drier before we went green once more. And so some teams gambled and went on to slick tyres early. Others braved it out on wet, hoping that the conditions would turn nasty. The stacking system at the end of the pit lane meant that the race-leading McLaren by that stage, Alvaro Parent, was able to feed back in behind the Oman racing team, Aston Martin. But the barrier repairs still weren't done. Still, the safety cars, plural, remained out on track, with Adam Christodoulou having done some good laps, second overall in the silver Mercedes there, running first in this queue. Lots of drivers ready, on their toes, to try to make progress when the race went live once again. And the fans looked on as the green flags flew and the road was drying, and that would then instigate another raft of pit stops. Some were determined to go onto slick tyres and try to gain an advantage, but the weather gods still had to play a part. It wasn't long before the heavens opened once again. Within 4 laps of pitting for slicks, teams were back in for wet tyres. Phoenix Racing lost out with both of its Audis. The RJN Nissan team lost out as well, as the car of Alex Buncombe had to come back in and put a different type of tyre on board. The 2 Audi drivers for Phoenix, namely Marcel Fassler in 6 and Christopher Mies in 5, were hugely frustrated about the time lost with an extra pit stop, and it showed as they battled their way past Maro Engel down towards Bruxelles. Into the lead of the Pro-Am class had gone the Acura Ecos BMW, and then we had a full course yellow because the rain was getting worse and worse. Some respected it, others didn't, and the result was an accident that put out Michele Rugolo and did damage to Jean-Carl Vernet's Audi. That came to the pit box, and while it was sorted out, a safety car was deployed, and as the weather worsened, the safety car remained out until track conditions were better. Working its way up the order had been the 63 Lamborghini. Mirko Bortolotti from the back of the grid after an engine change was running in second place and on the green flag to get the race back underway. So it was a case of the quick drivers having to storm their way through traffic. Some going through La Source, able to work their way through easier than others. But into the lead of the race, the René Rast, Laurens Vanthoor, Marcus Winkelhock Audi, last year's winning drivers in the very latest R8 LMS. A really good job was done early on by Alexander Sims for Acura Ecos before he gave the car over to Ollie Bryant, but the car running strongly in the Pro-Am class. For a lap it led overall, as through traffic battled Rast as he had to work away past Norbert Siedler in the very quick Rinaldi Racing 333 Ferrari. Flashing the lights, Rast desperately didn't want to lose any more time than was necessary. He would hand the car over to Laurens Vanthoor, and as he approached the end of his stint, so the cloud began to break above. Blue sky was evident, a bit of sunshine peeking through as well as the cars battled their way through early evening. The Mark VDS BMWs blasted out of the pit lane. As on track, the Vanthoor Rast Audi led the way. Drama in the last few minutes though. Off the road had gone the number 70 Mercedes coming down past the endurance pits. The man behind the wheel was Alexei Karachev. The car ended up on the road. It did get going, but then stopped again heading up towards Les Combes. It was lucky that nobody else was involved. It was quite a scare. And since we've had another car in the gravel as well, and that is the 18 Maro Engel Mercedes, now with Sean Johnston at the wheel of it. The car was in 41st place. So the yellow flags flew for another incident, and there are plenty more still to come, no doubt. Welcome back to Spa. Welcome to the Blancpain Endurance Series, to the total 24 hours of Spa. In the pits, OJ Borg, David Addison and John Watson trackside, and there is the reason for the current yellow flag that we have. It is the American Porsche racer Sean Johnston in a Mercedes this weekend, as he is for all the Blancpain Endurance Series rounds, sitting in the gravel bed, and it looks as though that car may well need an awful lot of assistance to get out of there. And are we going to need a full course yellow or indeed a safety car to get that out of the way? Let's have a look as the car is attended to at how we look after 76 laps, with the number 1 Audi of Laurens Vanthoor leading from Augusto Farfus now for Mark VDS, 16 seconds between them. In third spot is 78, that's the Team Russia by Barwell with Demon Tweaks entered car. Phil Keane at the wheel of it, ahead of Stefan Ortelli in for Frank Stippler. Running in fifth is Sacha Botterman in the Pro-Am car, which is second in class from WRT. Ahead now, the Curiacos. Ollie Bryant is at the wheel ahead of Anders Fjordbach. Then we have the car in the hands of Luis Plato coming next in 8th overall, ahead of Timo Glock. 9th, 10th at the moment, it is Stefan Kampenhout. 11th is where you will find Eric Demont, and 12th currently is 29, which is the Black Falcon Adam Christodoulou Mercedes. He in turn is ahead of 83 with Fabian Hamprecht. Next up, it is Sergio Jimenez for Team Brazil, ahead of Santilot, that's dropped down the order now after the most recent round of pit stops. That car currently with Mark Baseng at the wheel of it. And then comes the HTP Bentley next in the queue, which is the Max Buch, Maxim Soule and Andy Soucek car. But as I'm going through this order, there are more and more pit stops taking shape, so it's continuing to shuffle all the while. Keep an eye to some of the drivers taking over now. Danny Juncadella aboard number 99. 24, now Julian Westwood in the car that is leading in the AM class. He's taken it over of late from Callum McLeod. We started with 57 cars, and we've already lost 1 or 2, I'm afraid, because of the earlier accidents. So, for example, one that has gone is the 73 Nissan, the Sean Walkinshaw Craig Dolby car with Martin Plowman as the third driver. That had an off in the wet. Sean Walkinshaw aquaplane hit the wall, tweaked the chassis, and that can go no further. 888 running in 33rd place, had a drive-through for changing the rear wing in the pit lane rather than in the pit box, so that has lost time. And number 7, a long way back in 35th place, Bentley number 7, runner-up at Paul Ricard, but a long way down here. And number 6 has also suffered as a result of pitting at the wrong time for the wrong tyres. So too is 23 Nissan. That is another car that's dropped a long, long way down the order. And as you have a look through the remainder of the order, so after 76 laps of the race, the AMs are those towards the bottom end, and 41st was car 18. That is now, I'm afraid to say, sitting in the gravel bed, and Sean Johnston at the wheel of it. It means that the yellow flags were out. I understand that the car has been given a heave-ho out of the gravel bed, and it is now back circulating once again. That is a car which, again, will have lost a huge amount of time as a result of that. So they're the final cars in the classification, but I'm afraid really from 53rd down, you can kind of ignore what there is, because those are those cars that have had dramas and are effectively out of the race as we continue with the 24 hours of Spa. Now, one of the drivers that we touched on, having had dramas earlier and being out of the race, sad to say, Sean Walkinshaw, here at a race that his father had won in the halcyon days of the European Touring Car Championship. And Sean, I'm delighted to say, has just joined us in the booth, despite, I understand, Sean, a trip to the medical centre because you tweaked your neck in the impact. Is that right?
Yeah, just coming out of the first corner when the really wet conditions started to get really bad, just in a straight line. aquaplane hit the wall, and well, I managed to get back to the pits, but when the guys looked into further, the chassis was a bit cracked, and fuel tank was out of place as well, and the seat was broken as well, so quite a lot went wrong, unfortunately.
Now, you'd had to go in the Dubai 24 hours, I think I'm right in saying.
Abu Dhabi 12 hours.
Abu Dhabi 12 hours, right, okay. But this, the first time you've done the Spa 24, and it must leave a really sour taste. You know, you go through all this preparation, and then for circumstances, you don't really get into the meat of the event.
Yeah, it was really hard. You know, obviously qualifying didn't go to a plan, but the race was going really, really well. Just before like about half an hour before we were running in P7, so it was going really, really well. We knew we had good race pace after practice, but unfortunately this happened and the race is now over.
And as I say, it's an event that your father had won, so I'm not suggesting that adds extra pressure, but it's a significant one in the Walkinshaw family. Yeah,
it was a very meaningful weekend for us. You know, it was a bit of a shame because obviously my dad had a very good history here. We were hoping to have a very, very strong weekend here as well, but you know, we have to come back next year and try again.
Sean, just trying to help our audience understand just how on one lap, the previous lap, track conditions coming out of La Source down to Eau Rouge were acceptable, and that's what Spa is all about. It just changes so dramatically that you get caught. Simply, you just too much deep water.
Yeah, it was really shocking. You know, that first lap was normal conditions, well, normal wet conditions, and then I came coming down to the bus stop chicane. All of a sudden, a huge downpour. Couldn't see the car in front of me. That was maybe 15 meters in front of me. Couldn't even see him because the downpour was that bad. And then just coming out the first corner, just straight line, aquaplaned, and went in the wall hard.
So you have to go back to the team and explain all of this, but if you put a different hat on, there's SWR, Sean Walkinshaw Racing, that runs cars, has had a win even in the BRD CF4 Championship, so the next time your driver comes to you with an excuse, you can look at it differently, can you?
Yeah, slightly differently. It's just different circumstances most of the time, but yeah, it's just a shame. You know, you put so much hard work into everything. You know, we've been here since Monday, and you're out after the first 2.5 hours, and there's another 21 of this to go. It's a bit of a shame, but you know, guys will fix the car. We'll come back stronger for Portimao in the Sprint Series and Nürburgring for the Endurance.
I accept that you've had limited running in the race and limited running over the weekend, but just talk us through the best bits of this circuit, because it seems to have so much in it. It's one that drivers seem to love. Yeah,
obviously Eau Rouge is the big thing. You know, you come last year I was doing single seasons in Formula 3. You know, be here with the lowest downforce setting you could possibly get, and all these corners are easy flat. You come in a GT car and you know it's properly on the edge. You know, it's so hard to do, and then you come into the wet, it's even harder. You know, it's every single corner you're fully sideways and just hard. It's just so much fun.
What about this section? What about Blancpain? Because it's somewhere that everyone thinks requires massive commitment, and there, just to prove the point about commitment, is a very crumpled Audi, and that is that a WRT car? Is it a Phoenix car?
ISR. It's an ISR car.
It's the 75, is it? The ISR car. That's going to bring out the safety car straight away. So, safety car deployed. I was about to ask you about that corner requiring commitment, but, well, there's more evidence of how it can bite.
Yeah, it's a really hard corner. You know, in the dry it probably is flat, but in the wet it is very sketchy. You have to watch out for the curves there.
Yeah, but I think one of the things that's probably happened is everybody's been more or less going on to slick tyres. And if you put one of your slick tyres just on the edge of the damp patch, particularly in a high-speed corner like Blancpain, the car's just going to get away from you. And that car's gone from, you know, about 40 metres to the right of where the car is now. It's a long way off track, and it still had momentum to do a lot of damage to both the car and the tyre wall. Hopefully the driver is able to get out and be, you know, not other than shaken and stirred, but big impact, high-speed impact.
Yeah, especially now at the moment the track's drying, people are trying to experiment a lot more with the curbs, seeing if they can use them. Yeah, especially they usually use all the green on full entry, and I guess maybe the green part caught them out a little bit and straight in the wall.
Well, there you can see the damage to the Audi. You can see the tyre wall that's all now distorted, so clearly it's gone in very hard indeed. Salaquada had hopped out of the car. The medical car is on the scene, but yeah, a big impact that. That extra runoff, of course, is meant to slow down cars with the extra traction. Now, at the top of the shot, let's see what happens, and the car just breaks away there, just a dot, and then round it goes. It disappears behind the trees, but you just saw it break away.
Yeah, it's really unlucky, because you know, it can easily happen. Probably just went a little bit quicker in and just lost it. You know, didn't go on any of the curves, just
just position of the car in the corner. It was sort of middle of the track coming through the corner, back end lost traction, and just you're a passenger. Once the tyres, you start that to break away, there's little, even on a tarmac bit of runoff, which is there to, you know, slow a car down. It still was able to get to the tyre barrier. Yeah. That's going to have to be reconstructed before this yellow flag is going to be withdrawn.
So there you go, Sean. It happens to others, even on a dry road. I know that doesn't make you feel better, but it wasn't only you in strife.
Yeah, it's, you know, quite a few guys actually, I think, crashed on the exact same lap I crashed on, so it just happens. Just a shame, you know, 20 seconds later the safety car would have come out and it wouldn't have happened. It's just...
ifs and buts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what happens now? Do you go and have a nice meal and try and get it all out of your mind? And
I think I have to probably try get the mechanics a beer, really, after all that. But
something that Sean and Craig and Martin were going to do, which I thought was a bizarre, but you know, this is what you do at your first 24 hours. They weren't going to go back to hotel. They were actually going to sleep. They've got a double-decker transporter that converted the upper deck into something like a Boy Scout sleep. I mean, explain what it is, Sean, just briefly, because it helps people understand that not everybody stays in a 5-star hotel at Spa.
Well, no, you know, we want to be in the action. You know, it's really hard to sleep as it is, but in case anything happens, we want to be as close to the track as possible, to the car, so we can, if they want us to get in the car as quickly as possible, we're there. So in our truck, we've got 2 floors, so we converted the second floor into sort of a sleeping area for some of the drivers, some blow-up mattresses and stuff like that.
And who's the snorer amongst you?
Unfortunately, we didn't get to discover that, really.
I think you're very lucky.
Oh, yeah, well, I'd have liked to have.
I understand that totally.
Now, this is the car that was in second place when it came into the pit lane. Just to have a look at what is happening, it was the Pro-Am leading car, but could potentially, will lose overall places. It might even lose the class lead, depending on how it suffers as a result of the safety car. We've had Anders Fjordback bring it in, and there is Philip Salaquada trudging his way back to the pits with some explaining to do. So 17 Ferrari back into the race, and Philip Salaquada, that's a walk of shame, isn't it?
Yeah, slightly, because that... Oh, yeah, there's no
without
really say
pointing
about
a finger, you have to say that was down to Philippe, that particular incident. I mean, the road, the line certainly was dry, but he might have just caught the damp bit on the way in, or used this what they call the green bit, it's a bit like AstroTurf. But that holds water as well. I mean, it's great in the dry. You can put, well, some people were putting all 4 wheels off on it when they were doing their qualifying runs, but it still will retain some moisture, and you can just be unfortunate.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that was probably his fault, but at the same time, he's trying to find the edge. It's just a really bad place to try and find it. You know, Blanchemont's probably the quickest corner on this track. You know, most of the cars here in dry conditions will be flat through that corner at 240 kilometers an hour. So to lose it there will be a big impact.
Absolutely. More pit stops then being cycled through as the safety car is out. Sean, better let you go and buy these mechanics a beer.
Yeah. Cheers. Thanks a lot, guys.
I hope your neck's not too bad. Commiserations. So the MRS Nissan, sad to say, out of the race. Thanks to Sean Walkinshaw. And as the car then is in its garage out of the race, we look at more pit stops being cycled through. But let's head down to the pit lane. We're going to have at least 20 minutes of safety car here, but OJ Borg is down in the pits, and he's found Anders Fjordback fresh out of the car.
I have indeed, straight out after his stint. Great work bringing the car in second place.
Yeah, thank you. It was so tough here with the traffic, and now the track is drying up. The first hour was the easiest part, which it was like straight and always wet. Now after it started to dry up, it was really for me it was hard to stay with the pace with the leading car. So yeah.
Second overall, first in Pro-Am. What's been your secret? Is it just being consistent?
No, we had a lot of bad luck in the qualifying. Then we had some luck with the pit stops here, and our pit stop strategy was pretty fine, and then just consistent going on. So let's see how it will go now from now on.
Other drivers I've interviewed have said things like you could only see 2 meters in front of you. Is it really that bad out there?
Yeah, it's like last year in the 1,000-kilometer Nürburgring, it was pretty bad. Now it's just on Spa, going through Eau Rouge in the wets. It's one of a kind. Yeah.
Eau Rouge is a fast corner anyway. It's one of those famous corners that racing drivers like to take. What was it like on your nerves heading through there flat out in this sort of weather?
Yeah, we pitted during the safety car, so I had a chance to go there slower before it really started pushing. So for me it was pretty fine, but the first couple of laps it was pretty crazy.
And what do you think will happen over the course of this next stint? Talk us through what happened in your car.
Yeah, first we started out with the safety car period, and then just going on trying to feel the car, because it's my first time in the Ferrari in the wet. So we decided to go a bit before we usually will do, and just trying to get a feeling with the tires and this wet circuit. So, and then just trying to keep the lap times low and try to avoid some contacts or any other problems.
What a place to try out a car in the wet for the first time. Anders, thank you.
Thank you too. Bye.
So Anders Fjordback, who has come into the Blancpain Endurance Series relatively late, only joined in really at the back end of last year at the Nürburgring, has done a good stint, more stops being cycled through, of course, losing less time by doing a pit stop under the safety car than you will under green flag conditions. Now, the safety car is going to be out for at least 20 minutes, we are told, and this is, again, and John Watson made the point, to sort out the barrier damage as much as it is to get that car out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple tyre wall, but actually it isn't quite as simple as that because it's got to be secured. We can see some of the tyre bales have been dislodged, considerably dislodged. The speed of the car on impact was still probably, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 miles an hour possibly. And the amount of kinetic energy involved when a car is out of control as the Audi was, and then the consequence of the impact. You would never expect a car to go that far off track and have that kind of impact with the tyre bales, but you've got to make sure that those bales are properly relocated and secured, that in the event somebody else might go off in a similar circumstance, middle of the night, you never know, that those bales must not lose any of their integrity whatsoever, or it could lead to a very much more serious or concerning incident. So this is why it's taking time. I know it disrupts the flow, and we've got the 2 safety cars out, and teams are going to be furious because they're getting trapped at the pit lane exit and don't get out. But this is a 24-hour race. There we are, end of the pit lane, sitting there. You know, well, they haven't had their dinner trays delivered yet, but they might as well. I keep referring to it's the length of time. I mean, it's all you could do a fast food service. You know,
yes.
What do you want? Cheese and bacon, or just a straight burger?
It's like the drive-through arch, isn't it, that you get to? So there should be somebody there taking your order. Here comes the safety car, look, and when the last car crosses the safety car line coming out of La Source, that's the indication for those at the bottom of the hill to release the cars, and then they can make their way back into the race. But the circuit now looking drier than it has done all day, never mind all race.
Well, actually, some of the lap times up until the safety car intervention were getting down to the level of what is still, well, in fact, Adrian Quaife-Hobbs has set the fastest race lap on lap 59. He was on slicks, that is guaranteed at a 2:26. And there is the damaged Audi making its way back, so it'll go back into the Parc Fermé along with all the other cars that have had impacts all around the racetrack. We had Sean Walkinshaw in a few minutes. He was caught out by the extreme rain that was falling, and it was different on different parts of the circuit. He got caught out on the run down from La Source, just simply aquaplaned and a heavy impact with the concrete barriers. Suffered a whiplash. He's had treatment. He seems all well and good. So the field now, once again, there's the race leader, Laurens van Thor, just having to be patient on a track that is getting drier by the lap.
And so everybody bunched up behind the safety car, and there is the tyre wall repair operation underway. And
sorry, David. Yeah, I don't see a light bulb anywhere, because normally it takes about 10 on to change a light bulb.
Well, most of them are walking away now, aren't they? It's become somebody else's problem. So the marshals have dealt with the car, but it's down to the track staff to sort out the tyre barrier. So it will be a lengthy safety car period. Interesting message just popped up on the screen. Interesting-ish, anyway, if you're an anorak. Number 14 has been told it must have its lights on. That's the Emile Frey Jaguar. Not for the first time has that car not had its lights on, and it was one that failed to move a while ago from its release in the pit lane, suggesting there is some sort of intermittent electrical gremlin with that.
That's what I was going to suggest, that it might be something that is on the electrical side of the car, but if it is electrical, then normally the whole thing would cease operating. So it just may simply be not a very good connection, but it's sort of a bit fundamental, particularly now when there is a mandatory period when lights must be on. Of course, in wet conditions, lights must be on as well. So the track is no longer what I would describe as a wet track. The race director would indicate whether it's wet, dry, or in between, but this is right now close to being in between to the dry side. But just getting into the early hours or sort of late hours of the evening. It's now coming up to 9 o'clock. And within another, 40 minutes, it will be virtually fully dark.
Yeah, that's right. And so the fans now getting themselves something to eat and drink around the circuit as they prepare themselves. The real hardy fans will stay out until the wee small hours, keep drinking, and then go and sleep it off and totter back out for the finish, won't they?
Yes, and that's part of the experience of coming to a 24-hour race, particularly on these classic, effectively road circuits that we still enjoy in Europe. And there are a couple of those fans. They don't look like they've had too many sherbets. On the other hand, here's the more corporate aspect, and you'd think you're dining in a five-star restaurant with the table dressings and flowers, and undoubtedly your favourite ales and beers from Belgium, undoubtedly a few good burgundies and clarets to go along.
And those are fans under the tarpaulin there who are set in for the duration, and you can tell they are Spa stalwarts. They know exactly how life is. This is the contrast, how the other half lives there. And they saved you a seat, John, I noticed.
Absolutely. I mean, that is an extremely important part, because it is this hospitality that is in part some of the funding and the backing for teams that are competing here, and part of the point of a sponsor is that they use that as a mechanism to expand their business. That's why they do it. Indeed. They may also happen to be motorsport fans, but not every sponsor is a fan. They realise the value of it in terms of commercial benefits.
Now, interestingly, a road car in the campsite there with its wipers on. Does that mean that we've started to get the rain back around the circuit? Because if we have, that's going to throw yet another spanner in the works. Yeah,
well,
wipers are on, aren't they?
Indeed. Number 7 Bentley, its wipers are going so down. This is on the way back up from Blanchemont. This is the corner we're coming up to, where Philippe Salaquada. And again on board the Bentley, and you can see the rain falling more and more heavily. It's difficult to see whether it's now falling on the pit lane or not, because the light is fading, but certainly on the run up to the chicane and coming through safety car. Yep. Yeah,
it's raining there. You can see it here coming up towards Blanchemont. It's not heavy, but it's raining, that's for sure.
But again, the dynamic of the racetrack, those that are on slick tyres, they're going to go, oh! Is it only going to be in one segment of the circuit? There we can see just out to the right how far that car of Salaquada's went before it made contact. But the issue that drivers are going to now be on the radio to their teams, is it raining all around the racetrack? Well, they'll know that in another lap. How heavy is it? Is it going to last? The sky looks not bad, but we are at Spa, so I don't think anybody's able to really give an accurate lap upon lap forecast as to how it will change.
So race order, Laurens Vanthoor leads from Edward Sandstrom now, because this car of Andy Soucek has just come down the pit lane. It's Bentley 8 that's in, Bentley 7 is in also. And there they are, the two of them. And they continue to do this. They bring them in on exactly the same lap. So it's happened almost, I think I'm right in saying, on every pit stop. They've come in as a pair. Sometimes teams don't want to do that. They want to stagger them so they've got a bit more space to work in the pit area. But the M Sport team bringing them both in at the same time.
And they've got a set of wets sitting, waiting. Now they may or may not know that just Stephen Kane has just had a refuel, and Andy Soucek waiting to go as well, so no tyre change for the Bentleys, but the tyres are there. They're now being taken back into the garage. It was in the event that either driver said, look, conditions are changing, and watching to see if there's still rain on the windscreen. It may not be up at La Source, the highest part of the circuit, at this end of the circuit, as opposed to the far end where you are at Lake Coombe. So we're not seeing rain at the present time in the pit straight or in the pit lane. And in fact, what we saw on the run up through Blanchemont, it may well have simply just disappeared and gone.
So the Bentleys head down the pit lane. 7 has lost a lap, I'm afraid to say, after the earlier safety car periods against it. So that's down in 26th, whereas 8 was in second place before it made that pit stop. So differing fortunes. And if you think back a year, of course, it was 8 that, with admittedly a different driving combination, was in strife on about the second lap of the race when there was early contact and it never really recovered from its problems. This time last year, Bentley had 2 wins, Silverstone and then again at Paul Ricard. This year's been a bit tougher, but the car was bang on the pace and fighting for a win at Paul Ricard last time out.
Yes, it was. It was a very strong run. I mean, I thought it was a great event, that 6-hour race in Paul Ricard, in the lovely warmth of the south of France and beautiful, unbroken blue skies and a bit of Provence rosé in the down moments.
And I was here and it rained. You had the better deal.
I was unquestionably, unquestionably. But here we are, Spa-Francorchamps in the Ardennes Is it the Ardennes or not? It is the Ardennes, yes.
Yeah.
The Ardennes region, and there you see, if you like trees, come to Spa because it's got them in profusion.
And so the field now, lights on, the natural light is fading, and as we are approaching now 9 o'clock local time, just nudging 9 o'clock in fact, 19 hours and 29 minutes and counting still to run. Drivers weaving around. Does that actually really keep warmth in the tyres, or is it all a bit sort of psychological these days? You feel as though you're doing the right thing?
I mean, some tyre engineers would say yes, it helps. Some say, well, really, what it does, the amount of heat it puts in is negligible because you're doing it really at such low speeds. There's not a huge amount of energy being generated. So, okay, if it makes you feel better, do it. But some do it, some don't bother. And I think it's just a matter of confidence. If you think it's going to give you that little edge when the race goes back to green, and you think you can gain an advantage, or you seemingly do gain an advantage, well, stick with it.
Quick word about the Audi there that you can see in the middle of the pack. It's leading the AM Cup, and this is the Team Parker racing car. It's down in 34th place overall, but a class leader. Benny Simonson is the man at the wheel of it at the moment. Benny, the younger brother of the late Alan Simonson, who has done a bit of British GT racing with Alan's old co-driver Hector Lester. He's done a bit of the now defunct British Abarth series, but it's good to have him in this car and keeping the Simonson name at the forefront of GT. And for Stuart Parker's team, that is, as I say, a class-leading car, 34th overall, the AM class leader. Now, what about McLaren? Because we had good results from earlier on, and Davey Ryan, let's hear from him with OJ now.
Dave, I just asked you for an interview. You gave me a smile and said yes. Things must be going well at McLaren.
Yeah, we're comfortable at the moment. There's a long way to go. Fair bit of work to do, obviously, but we're okay.
Talk me through where you're at with pit stops. You seem to have done 5 so far. Is that more or less than you thought you'd be doing?
It's probably a bit more. Reacting to the conditions, maybe. We're okay. I'm okay with where we're at.
With the car in 4th, do you think you've read the conditions right? Because lots of the teams have been really caught out.
I think it's a bit of luck involved in that. We're doing the best job we can. At the moment, we're sort of okay. But as I say, we'll see how it goes.
With trying to change between dry and wet weather, we thought it was dry. It's just starting to spit again outside. How are you monitoring this? Is it literally come out and feel what hits your face?
Well, we've got all sorts of magic equipment which is telling us what's going on. I'd like to say that. And reality is we're just sucking it and seeing, really. And
Dave, 18 hours to go. How do you see the next 18 hours proceeding at a racetrack that could be so changeable?
It's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging for everyone, and that's going to be what this race is all about. This is just setting the scene at the moment, and everyone's going to have to work really, really hard for the whole event.
And how much would it mean to you and to the team to win here?
To win this race, it'd be fantastic for whoever won it. You know, they'd just think it was the best thing ever. So we're trying, and we're still in it, and we'll see how it goes.
Dave, thank you.
David Ryan talking about trying to suck it and see in terms of the conditions. Many moons ago, one of Michael Meadows' British GT team was dispatched during the 24 hours to put on with a tent, a doggy bag, radio and phone, and they were on rain watch overnight, and the winning Vitaphone Maserati team couldn't work out how the CRS Scuderia Ferrari team was so on the money, but it was by using people in that way.
Yeah, I mean, people just simply go and camp out on the highest parts of the terrain, and here in Spa-Francorchamps there are lots of areas you can do that, and they've got radios, two-way radios. Still, the tyre bales there, you can see the new tyre bales or the original ones they've got. I mean, that's a big hit, that Salaquado's car. In fact, there's tyres on the opposite side of the metal barrier now. Well, they've been deposited there by that articulated, so those have been deposited, we gather, and there are tyre bales all stacked and ready to be put into place. And, you know, it didn't look a big hit, but obviously the damage to that tyre bale, and there we see the old tyres being disposed of. There are the fresh ones, and it's a long job to do what is, in relative terms, a straightforward task of rebuilding a tyre wall. But clearly it isn't as straightforward as one might assume. So,
running in second place at the moment is the 35 Santaloc Audi. Mark Basseng has done a stint in that car, and he is with OJ.
Mark, your car currently second. It's going well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we came from P28. I think we had a really good start. It was quite easy in the beginning because it was really difficult, and I think we made a good choice to stay on the rain tires even in this partly dry conditions. And I think that's the reason why we are here. The gap we have at the moment is because we are in safety car 2.
And how well do you know this course?
Oh, quite well. I did it already, I don't know, 6-7 times, the 24-hour races. And Edward Sundström and Gregory, they finished last year P4 here with Sentilog. So team knows the track, the strategy. So I think we are a good lineup.
And how important is that prior knowledge for driving here and doing well at this race?
It's definitely helpful, you know. Edward and me, we're doing as well GT Masters, and we were in the rain here, so we didn't need any laps to be quick immediately, and that was, I think, as well a little advantage we had.
2 pit lanes here. You're in the lower pit lane, the endurance pit lane. Has that made any difference to you as a team?
As we like to stay here in the lower pit lane because it helps us a lot in the qualifying and in the practice session. You always be the first car which is going out. During the race, it is more or less the same if you are on top or here. And yeah, but it's good.
Mark, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Santilog car running in second spot. Wipers on the run up towards Les Combes. It does seem as though now we've got a spar, or 2 spars in a sense, the wet and the dry, because it's not wet to the same extent all the way around.
No, it's not. What is this about?
Dear.
One of the Gottfried Grasser cars, Jerome Mühl, again down at the lowest part of the circuit, coming through Campos Corner, and somehow or other he's managed, and he says he's having trouble getting the car to turn. He put a lot of, he damaged the rear of the car because it just didn't really seem to turn when he had the lock on, and now he's having trouble getting reverse gear.
But John, a safety car and people are spinning. Under the safety car, you're meant to be going at a slow pace, and therefore, why are people making mistakes? Why are people losing control under the safety car like this?
I think it's nothing more complicated that the track conditions, even this small amount of moisture that has been falling in the last lap or so, is sufficient to catch an unwary driver out, and he might just have given it a little bit too much throttle on a set of slick tires. He's going much too quick because this is a safety car, and he's driving way above what would be considered to be the 80 kilometers or so per hour that you'll be doing by the safety car. Now he may go into the pits at this occasion. No, he's staying out. He needs to be very careful because he is doing something which is not permitted, and that's driving at racing speed under a full course yellow, and that will not go unobserved because he thinks, I need to catch up to the tail of the group of cars I was in. But he's going to exceed the speed, and that may well see a further penalty to add to the penalty of having had made an error down at the lowest point of the circuit.
So as the cars work their way behind the safety car, we know it's going to be a lengthy period. There is one that's under investigation for safety car procedure, and it is the Emmanuel Orgeval-driven Delahaye Racing Team AM Class Porsche. I'm afraid we haven't really seen much of Porsche in this race. This is number 50 Ferrari, which was leading the AM Class early on, but with pit stops and different driver pace. Gary Kondakov from Kaspersky is the man behind the wheel, and that car now has dropped into 43rd overall, but in real terms that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th in class.
You get a readout on the digital screen just ahead of the driver, you know, giving gears, giving lap time, pluses and minuses, and also this car carrying a rear-facing camera. That additional little screen in the middle of the picture is the way that the driver will get his rearward information rather than relying simply on the 2 wing mirrors. There's no interior mirror in the car as you would normally expect when you buy a £180,000 Ferrari 458. So they use these little video cameras, and that's the image that he's got looking backwards.
How technology works in so many different ways. You're looking on the screen at the standings lower down Pro-Am, which, just to recap, is being led at the moment by number 78 BMW, which is the Team Russia by Barwell with Demon Tweaks, snappy title. Leo Machitsky is the man at the wheel of the car at the moment. He shares it with John Minshaw, who is Demon Tweaks, with Phil Keane, and with Johnny Cocker, who did a great first stint in that car. Second in Pro-Am is WRT's car of Max Cobalt, Sasha Botterman, Peter Schotthorst and James Nash. And then third in Pro-Am at the moment is number 11, which has gone back to Alessandro Bonaccini. Michael Lyons, Andrea Piccini and Michael Brozniewski are the other drivers in that car for Kessel Racing.
just watching this onboard camera shot on the Ferrari, there seems to be a certain point in the engine rev range which sets up a little harmonic vibration, which is causing the camera to vibrate, because at certain points the image, the 50 and the names of the drivers goes out of focus, whereas at a lower speed comes back into focus, which indicates to me there's well, I know from, in fact, with this 458 or Ferrari V8 engine, there is quite a substantial harmonic in the sort of the middle to medium range rev range, and that just gives me an indication that they haven't done anything about it.
It has been a very popular GT car and a customer-friendly GT car. There is 111, which is the Kessel Racing Ferrari. This year the car of Steve Earle, as last year, Liam Talbot, and those two had, of course, a win at Monza at the start of the year with Marco Zanettini and Mark Rostan taking the 4th seat in that car. It was the one, or it was the equivalent car, remember, last year involved in the big incident, and I mentioned earlier on about Marcus Mai, his recovery. Delighted to say that Marcus has been joining us and he has been watching, and he's keeping tabs on all of his friends, not just at Kessel Racing, but other teams as well, so it's good to have his company. Florian Strauss at the wheel of 22 here as he works his way downhill. This rain is a real tease, isn't it? Because it's neither one thing or the other.
It is a tease, and of course, with everybody on slicks, and of course, usual story, low speed, loss of temperature, loss of pressure in the tyres, and it is just, it's not insignificant, but it's, every, what, 15-20 seconds you see the wipers on intermittent giving a sweep of the windscreen. And while I imagine when this race goes back to green, most drivers will be in, pretty much in control as we go to a bit of nature rambling, and I'm sure the ramblers will not be happy to see motorcycles being driven through the forest, but we're not in England, we're in Belgium. So anyway, that little bit of rain falling, it just is a trigger for everybody to be wary when they go back to green flag racing. As again, we're getting this stack of bales. Looks like that's the final stack being put into place, and they're put in as was it 2 dozen or 3 dozen tyres bound together, whether the whole lot get bound together or whether it's just each individual bale is. So here's the Bentley coming back in.
Yeah, that's 84. We talked about Mark VDS, of course, in this race with the two cars 45 and 46. There is a third one that I did promise early on we would discuss, but we haven't got round to it yet. But now's as good a time as any under the safety car, because there is a third car, number 240. The entrant is BMW racing against cancer, and Pascal Wittmer, who is one of the drivers, is suffering from it and has already had to go through lots of chemotherapy. Jean-Michel Martin, who is 4 times a winner. We've got Eric van der Poel as 5 times a winner, and Marc Douay 3 times a winner of the event. And each of those drivers is going to do 24 minutes in each of the 4 quarters of the race, and the money saved by not running for the rest of the time is all given to a cancer charity to try and help to raise funds and to raise awareness. And there, look, down in the garage is Mark VDS and friends racing against cancer, and you can see Let's Fight is the message, and Alex Marcet can tell us more about this idea. He's down in the pit lane with OJ now.
Lots of cars with lots of stories. You heard that story there. Alex, you've been selling things to go on this car. Talk me through the livery. Talk me through why there are stickers on the car.
So we have stickers on the car because we want to grow awareness and grow funds for cancer. This car is only for the charity event. It's not a competitive car. So we have big clothes who are only there because who are there because people paid for it. It might be like people like German Jackson did, or might it be actual in companies and all that, like BMW. And then we have all the smaller stickers, which I've been doing for the last couple of days, which are from separate people who promised to get an email from the Cancer Foundation, the Belgian Cancer Foundation. In exchange, you can put the name on the car, and the Belgian Cancer Foundation will write them an email and ask them if they want to donate money. It's up to them. We are not forcing them in any way. I think it's a nice way for them to grow awareness about cancer, and maybe some of them will donate money towards cancer and research.
It's a great positive story, and you've got a queue of people who want to put the name on the car.
Yeah, we have, depending on the times, but most of the time we have a lot of people who are willing to put the name on the car, or really interested, very empathic of the cause we're defending. So it's very nice. I feel really Like, I'm happy working for this because I feel like people are really getting interested, are really happy about it.
Well, thank you very much. I think you've got a queue to get back to get some more money for this great foundation. Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you.
It is a great concept, and Pascal Whitmer, as I say, who is troubled by the illness, somebody with a very long pedigree in motor racing. He was racing in the British Formula 3 Championship back in 1976 and has been a driver in just about every category for many, many seasons. And Jean-Michel Martin, Eric van der Poel, Marc Douay, all winners of the event, all Belgian legends. And it's a great cause, that. And it is one that I would encourage you to support if you feel so inclined.
Yes, of course, this event in Belgium, I mean, outside of the Grand Prix itself, this is the biggest motorsport event in the country. It is the most prestigious GT3 race in the world, and of course fans come here as we just see the baling being finally, and then the wrap that goes around it to keep it all in place is being reapplied, and that's pretty substantial in itself. That was a big hit, keep reinforcing that, a big hit by Philippe Salaquada. But obviously, you know, tremendous bit of initiative to run a car for the charity and to try and raise money to increase research and whatever else the charity is attempting to achieve.
So the safety car staying out, the team manager of number 19 being summoned to race control. Number 19 was that revolving Lamborghini, Euro Bull. The fact that the team manager is going to the race director kind of ties in with the point I was making to you. Things like that should not happen under a safety car.
No, first of all, it shouldn't have happened. Secondly, I believe that he got back on track. He went much too quickly, particularly up the hill into Blancpain, where corner workers were working on that tire bale. And I think that those two issues may well be brought to the attention of the team manager, whether there's a penalty or whether there's a valid explanation. So, you know, there's a very shiny looking rear slick.
Yeah. Drama. Wheel drive pin, is it all right? Yes, I think it is. So the wheel goes on. Safety car staying out there. This is the 29 Mercedes that Adam Christodoulou had got up into second place earlier on. But Nico Verdonk at the wheel of it will drop down the order for the moment. But of course, it's where you are at the end of the race, not now necessarily, that matters. So that rain we talked about hasn't really amounted to anything, has it?
Well, the wipers and some of the cars are still being operated. That may be because there's other, you know, rubbish and gunk that's on the windscreen. Fundamentally, the rain has gone, but there may be the odd little droplet that does catch a car. Well, there it is. A car coming in with more than a little droplet on the windscreen. So clearly, as the car comes down towards the pit lane exit, rain is falling somewhere, but driver unconcerned. The Nissan number 23. I mean, certainly, well, he's going to have to sit and wait, so we might as well use the wiper and clear the windscreen. It doesn't look as if any more is falling. It just looks like it got a quick little douche somewhere.
So that's 23 that we were riding on board, which has come down to the end of the pit lane, ready to rejoin in a moment or two.
It's done in 28th position right now.
Yes, Katsumasachio at the wheel of it. Right, time for the Barbie. Actually, trying to keep warm, I think.
I think it's keeping. All of a sudden, you can just sort of feel that the ambient temperature has actually dropped. It wasn't exactly high. I mean, it was showing a couple of hours ago to be about 12.5, 13 Celsius, indicating now it's down to just over 11. But judging by that race fans' demeanour, it's a bit chillier than that.
I would concur. So as the field heads through Eau Rouge, we're still behind the safety car because of this barrier repair. Just to make the point, it's not that it's an accident that's requiring a lot of attention to a driver or to a car, it's the trackside furniture. And actually, that has been a common cause of the lengthy safety car periods. It was the same in terms of Karim Ogier's accident. We've seen some still photographs of Karim's accident from earlier on, and the car getting well and truly airborne as it used that barrier as a ramp.
But when you showed me the photograph, I was shocked. I didn't realise the car had gotten up in the air so high, or actually it was 90 degrees to the ground.
So it was a big old impact, and you can understand why there was the delay in getting the barrier sorted out. Photographers are hard at work up on the bank there overlooking the exit of Bruxelles.
I mean, a fantastic location to capture any motor race. The light just, you know, really is perfect at that part of the track at this particular moment. 20 past 9 in the evening, coming up to the 5-hour mark. It's 5 or 6 hour, 5 hour mark. 6 hours. 5 hours. 5 hour mark.
5 hour mark, yes.
Back to Copacabana.
It's getting more lively though, look, they turn the lights on.
I hope
now.
it is. If it doesn't, it will not live up to its name.
You'll be there in a few hours, John.
More chance of being struck by lightning than me being there. I've got a,
Hey, you're at Spa, careful what you
I've got a
say.
big date tonight when I leave the track.
More news in the morning, everybody.
It's just simply go to bed.
Yeah. Dry line's still there.
Yeah, the dry line is there, but it is only the line. Everything else isn't drying out. So it's only the line, and that's where it's going to be really tricky when we get back under race conditions, because anyone that might well stray off the drying line and get a wheel onto the still damper part is flirting with the low tire temperature, low tire pressure situation. So everybody will have to be very alert and probably more considerate and thoughtful than they might be in truly dry conditions.
One car that's done a pretty good job in this opening few hours of the race is the number 99 Mercedes. It's got Danny Juncker-Dayer at the wheel of it, nephew of former Grand Prix racer Louis Sala, and it's the car we saw Nico Bastian do a long stint in at the start of the race. But it's now running in 4th place. They've got Steph Dusseldorp still to use early evening in that car, but it's just, I hesitate to say plodded around, but it's just metronomically driven round and round and round, done good lap times. There you can see the top 6, and 99 Mercedes is running in 4th place. Good job.
Absolutely, and the key is on out-and-out pace, probably it wouldn't win the race. But winning a race is not about being the quickest, it's about coming first. And that's the essence. Now, what's changed in 24-hour racing over the last number of years, as a sister Mercedes Black Vulcan car comes down to make its pit stop, is that 24-hour endurance races are no longer endurance. They are endurance and sprint. The endurance is the car's endurance, but the pace of the race outside of safety car interventions is that really these things are being driven as if it was a 1 hour Blancpain sprint or at best a 3 hour endurance event. So, well, he's got the air brake out now. Mercedes invented that in 1955 and clearly Manitou have got another version of it with their glass door. But I would have thought the car would crab a bit to the left if you use that too regularly.
Yeah, but it's all part of the balance of performance, don't forget.
I'll take that window out. That'll spoil his balance of performance.
My money's on the van here for sheer pace. Right, if those are in, then the track will be clear, and safety car in this lap is the message now on our screens. So timing and scoring confirmed. Safety car in this lap. We're ready to go racing, John.
I don't want to give it the commentator's curse, but when everybody goes green, will they please not do something dumb, cause another incident and have another safety car intervention?
Yes,
we saw this happen last year a lot.
Yeah.
I hope that everybody out there is respectful of the situation they've been in a long time behind a safety car. And the track is dry on line. Stray at your peril.
I haven't yet used the line safety cars breed safety cars, but picking up on what you've just said, now might be a time, because it does happen. You made the point, it happened regularly last year, and of course now with a dry line but greasy offline, it's just there to trick you. You think there's more grip perhaps and push a little bit harder, and now we've got to the point where, of course, with all the traffic, you are going to have to overtake and go offline to do it.
And also you're in that sort of light where it's not dark but it's not light, and it's where it's quite difficult sitting at the level at the height that the driver is to always be precise and know that, well, am I on the dry bit or am I straying onto the damp bit? The two colours sort of blend in each other. It is a really tricky time of a 24-hour race, the levels of light we've got with these damp offline track conditions.
It's Gary Kondakov at work, the business operating officer of Kaspersky, new to Blancpain this year, first Spa 24-hour appearance. And even though he's at a relatively slow pace behind the safety car, you can see the concentration.
I also see an open face helmet.
Yes.
I thought those went out with the arc.
They're the sort of modern version of an open face, aren't they, with the microphone communication, the chin piece, So safety car in this lap, lights are out on top of the safety car. Second in that queue is the leader, Laurens Vanthoor. And it's going to be an awful lot of shuffling around in the traffic now.
But they've also got Adrian Quaife-Hobbs not very far behind in the McLaren now. There's going to be a lap between them, isn't there?
They are a minute back, yes. Adrian Quaife-Hobbs' McLaren running in third. It's had 5 pit stops to most other teams 4, it sort of gained a lap early on, but has then lost it again by having to make that extra pit stop. So it's actually balanced out, really.
Yeah, they went in. In fact, Craig Hobbs still has got the fastest race lap on lap 59. We're on now. What is it? We've lost the number of laps we were on at the minute.
We're on lap 90.
Okay, so it was quite some time ago when we went into that slick period. Before then, we had that major downpour, somewhat hour and a half ago.
So hold on to your hats. We're ready to go racing. The WRT Audis will work their way up towards the timing line with, if you look, number 2, Stefano Ortelli at the head of the queue, but he's about to go a lap down because as he comes through, the leading car is right on his tail, so through they go. And if Laurens Vanthoor gets ahead of that car, then it spells really bad news for Audi number 2, the pole position car, because to come back from a lap down is very difficult in a 24-hour sprint like this. So Ortelli was going to get away from Vanthoor, but that is not easy. And Laurens Vanthoor now tries to put a lap on the sister car, and he does so.
Yeah, I think to some degree, Stefano Ortelli went a little bit, and it didn't go wide in the exit, but he gave the opportunity for Laurens Vanthoor to make the undercut, got the drive off the corner, got that little bit of extra speed and made the pass cleanly all the way down, and it didn't look like it was a team, as Kasparov gets out, it didn't look like it was a team-controlled scenario.
Now Kondakov out, who gets in? Let's have a look. Great shot there, you can see the different seat.
Yeah, absolutely, seat inserts go in, and there, Vanthoor off up at Lane Crom. Got caught out up on the run into Liku, and he's lost that position. He's been overtaken by.
Did Ortelli get his lap back?
I assume he did do, because.
Oh no, Ortelli's gone backwards in the traffic. Look.
Well, what went on between those two? Surely that wasn't I mean, certainly we saw Vanthoor off track on the run into there. Why is Ortelli now being overtaken by Craig Hobbs, and he's dropped just. Well, maybe we'll get a view of that in a minute or two, but certainly a bit of drama up there that caught out the race leader, went off track.
That McLaren is the Van Gisbergen car, isn't it, the orange one?
Yes,
it is, Shane Van Gisbergen. So he's been able to make up some progress. We also have a 30-second stop-go penalty for Emmanuel Orgeval for overtaking under the safety car. But Laurens Vanthoor is getting away up front on this now, lap 91. Despite his off up at Les Combes, he's back on it. And there is Stefano Ortelli trying to work his way around the outside of the other HTP Bentley, and he's gone through. But Van Gisbergen is on a mission here, the Silverstone winner. Now Van Gisbergen is a lap down on Vanthoor. He is hunting down the Audi to get back onto the lead lap.
Yeah, but we still have no explanation as to what happened to Ortelli, or what happened, for that matter, to Laurens Vanthoor up at Les Combes.
Now, how are the Bentleys doing? 11th for Andy Soucek. Car 7 is down in 32nd place. And Malcolm Wilson from M Sport can tell us why.
Malcolm, 11th and 32nd right now. Where on the level of going to plan are we?
I think we got caught out a little bit with car 7 with the second safety car, but certainly car 8 is in strong position, close gaps. But obviously it's very, very early days, so let's wait and see.
When you do all the testing, you do all the planning, you get the right drivers in, how frustrating is it when you get caught out by a safety car?
You can imagine it's frustrating, but in one sense it is the same for everybody. But it is frustrating when you get in a really strong position and then that happens, and then you're with this situation with the safety car here being held at the end of the pit exit. It's a little bit frustrating when you think, you can put all the plan and strategy into place, and then something like that happens and you can just see the time evaporating away.
Is it bad luck, or do you think maybe in hindsight you were caught out slightly?
I don't know. I think most people have been caught out. If you look at where people are, that you would expect them to be at the front of the field. But as I say, it's been a difficult first few hours, that's for sure, with these weather conditions. So hopefully it's going to stay dry now for the rest of the race.
Malcolm, thank you.
Thank you.
So the M Sport team, with a fine pedigree in rallying, came into racing with the Bentley last year. And Malcolm, when he was interviewed for a feature in Autosport, said he had to Google what GT3 was all about when the call came from Bentley, because of course circuit racing as a team wasn't really their bag, but they've done a great job.
Absolutely, done a fantastic job. But I think it's interesting, Malcolm saying, they got caught out, and I think it's quite important to point out that M Sport is new to motor racing, but new to Spa in particular, where WRT, who are leading this race, and René Rast stayed on those wet tyres when others went to slicks. And that's the skill and the experience that WRT have, and they use that to their advantage, and it's an advantage that they still are maintaining, with Laurens Vanthoor still in the lead of this race, Edward Sandstrom in second place in the Audi, and Junkadella third in the Mercedes.
So, plenty of battles still to be resolved. Plenty of drama here as Laurens Vanthoor continues to lead here in this, the 2015 total 24 Hours of Spa. So we're on lap 92, Audi leads the way, track conditions drying, but of course, because of the nature of this race, just as the track starts to improve, the light fades. You gain with one hand and you give away with another or something like that, and so things are changing all the time for the teams.
Yes, I mean, you imagine someone like Laurens Vanthoor, René Rast, most of the Audi, Mercedes, BMW drivers, they spend their whole lives doing 24-hour races, be it at Nürburgring, Dubai, you know, even Paul Ricard, a 24-hour race the other day. We did our 6-hour Blancpain race, and the Nissan just been overtaken by the Audi as they make their way back up through to Blanchimont. Gio being slightly cautious, I would have said, whereas the Audi, on off track on the outside, one of the Bentleys I think it was, but manages to get back onto track without any difficulty, but just simply was pressurised by the Audi. There's the Bentley coming shooting up the outside into a real congestion. 4 cars into one won't go there. Well, actually it's 6 cars, and you can see just, I think it was maybe it was that BMW, I couldn't quite see how it was, but suddenly speared off on the outside of Blanchimont.
And there, look, number 4 Audi at the inside of the RJN Nissan. That is doing a good job. That's Sacha Botterman at the wheel of that car. Don't forget, it is second in Pro-Am Audi number 4. And Sacha Botterman, who's raced in the French Carrera Cup, French GT, French Touring Car Series, the Seat One Mate Championships in France and Spain. New to Blancpain this year, but he's coming off pretty impressively, actually. This is a good stint by Botterman now, up into 10th overall and second in class.
A little bit of rain on the windscreens, but look again, the Bentley's coming back, has got the drive up the hill. But the Audi was certainly forceful in the way that it made its way through traffic down the bottom of the circuit, all the way up the hill. Oh, it's the Nissan, not the Bentley. Again, that shows just where the strength of the Nissan lies. And they were given that additional little break in the BOP over what they've been given initially for practice and qualifying. So that indicates that it's certainly helping them. They're not being hindered by that additional, maybe 10, 12 horsepower.
Now, who did we last have in that car? It was Katsumasa Chiyo, wasn't it, in 23, but he's down in 31st place. They've still got a long old slog ahead of them. And now Sacha Botterman being put off his stride a little bit, and he's about to lose another place. They drop downhill. Traffic coming past him. That's the Gulf. Liveried or backed at WRT Audi. Through has gone number 19, Euro Mull, after his earlier spin. He's got to redress the balance, hasn't he?
He came down, coming down the hill into Pujol. Offline, you could already see there was still enough spray coming off those rear tyres. And again, Sunday number 4, which has been really, really strong. You know, just beginning to, I don't know why, Sunday lost, losing places, you know, virtually by the corner on the slap.
Although some of those places are cars unlapping, like number 5 that's just gone through. That's the Phoenix Audi with Nicky Tim at the wheel. That's 2 laps down now. Now, the Phoenix cars are the latest R8 LMS, they're the new cars.
Yeah, the G2s.
Yeah, Phoenix is a top team, but because they got it wrong on tyre choice earlier, they've been massively compromised, and those cars, 32nd and 33rd, 2 laps down, I would say, are out of the equation.
Euro Mull in the Lamborghini trying to make further progress, having to back out of it, coming up into Blanchimont. Came out of the Courbe, Paul Frere, virtually side by side, but it wasn't really. Number 4, Audi looks like it's back at the races. I don't know, it's this sort of slight inconsistency, lap upon lap, for whatever reason.
What we are seeing, John, as well, are purple sector times. In other words, absolute best in sectors, partly because it's drying out, partly because in this stint the fuel load is coming down, and also, of course, the temperature is cooling.
Yeah, temperature drops, which is good for aspirated engines. Actually, all those cars, basically the Bentleys and the Toyota that are turbocharged engines, they don't really make any additional horsepower in more dense air, where an aspirated engine will do. Nevertheless, you saw the Nissan just simply pull out and drive away past the Audi, up the long Camel straight up into Les Combes.
And here's this great gaggle of cars with a Mark VDS BMW at the back of it. Now let's just see which of the 2 of those that are doing the entire race. That is it 45 or 46? As it goes over the timing line, it's 45. Augusto Farfus up into third place now.
Yes.
And Farfus, look, is hunting down the 99 Mercedes that's 2 cars up the road. And so now, as they work their way down, you've got 99 Daniel Gadea being chased by 45 Augusto Farfus, both of them DTM racers.
Yeah, I know Farfus a bit special in an BMW.
Yes.
Also Edward Sandstrom and Quay Farms and Dazan, they're in the pit lane, so they've dropped out of the top 3. So this battle between the BMW and the Mercedes is going to be an interesting battle. They battle each other regularly in DTM in the respective manufacturers' brands. And let's see where that little group is.
Which is the now Stefan Kampenhout driven Ferrari. Augusto Farfus is stuck in traffic, isn't he? Because he hasn't found a way past 71 yet, which is Luis Plato, the British driver, former radical racer, British GT racer nowadays. And so as you head downhill with Farfus, he's got to work his way through this battle pack ahead, yeah?
Yeah, this is the same old story for the BMW drivers. This is the part of the circuit where they've got very, very good balance, very good grip, downforce. When they get onto the fast parts of the circuit, Mercedes, and there you can see Farfus, trying to laser out the rear of that Mercedes-Benz with the powerful lights that these cars have got fitted. So he's coming up to the end of this middle sector in the Spa circuit, and the advantage that he has held, he's not been able to do anything with. As the McLaren, the Von Ryan McLaren, is back into the pits. Number 5, this is the car that was driven by Alvaro Herrera initially.
The Emil Frey Jaguar under investigation for an incident under a full course yellow earlier on. Lawrence Vanthoor is in the pits, the leader is in. So, Danny Juncadea's Mercedes is about to inherit the advantage, and here Augusto Farfus is going with him. And now, with Vanthoor in the pit lane, Farfus cannot afford to get stuck in traffic. You can see he's flashing the lights, see the reflection on the Ferrari ahead. That car needs to be negotiated, and Farfus tries to get up the inside as they come down towards the bus stop. But it's an AF Corsa Ferrari, it's 51, the Matt Griffin, Duncan Cameron car, it's a quick Ferrari.
Yeah, but what Farfus is doing the right thing, deciding not to take a risk. He doesn't know who is behind that particular car, behind the wheel. He's now trying to get himself up into a position, again, hasn't got the straight line speed, but just literally harrowing the Ferrari all the way around, gets alongside now, but again, the Ferrari's got the squirt in a straight line. Farfus has got his nose ahead. He needs to be a little bit hard on the Ferrari to make sure he keeps it, and he's done that.
Davide Rigon is the man behind the wheel of the Ferrari, and he's not slow,
No,
is he?
he's not, and he's more than a match for Augusto Farfus.
Yeah, agree with that, but Farfus has gone by, and in fact, not only that, but also now, that BMW, we'll check in a second, will be the race leader, because Danny Juncadea has pitted, so too had the Audi ahead, so it should now be that 45 inherits the race lead. Need another shot just to see where the Audi rejoin, but they're out of sync on pit stops now, but it will put 45 BMW on the road into the lead of the race now. BMW getting ready. This is the Royal Motorsports stop, and I think we're going to see Alex Zanardi, yes we are, get behind the wheel. The team allowed one extra mechanic for their pit stops in order to help Alex in and out of the car, understandably.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'm just keeping an eye on Shane van Ginzbergen, who had just recently done a lap very close to what was the fastest race lap so far. You see Alex there having to, that's the way he has to maneuver with these prosthetics that assist him. So Van Ginzbergen, but in fact, we're getting different drivers in different parts of the circuit popping up purple, so the lap times in general are beginning to fall. The one that isn't doing anything particularly spectacular is still race leader. His last lap was at 2 minutes 30.
But that was an in lap, because he pitted at the end of it, so that was a slow lap as he came in. And Van Gisbergen has given over to Rob Bell now, as Timo Glock is heading for the pit lane, and we've got a yellow flag out on track at turn 19, which is the bus stop. Can I see anything out of the window? No, but something has happened down at the end of the lap. It was briefly brought out a yellow. We've now gone back to green. Here is Timo Glock into the pit lane. And OJ is down, ready to talk us through the pit stop. So Timo Glock getting ready, and we will have the pit stop described. OJ, all yours. BMW heading towards you.
cameras are down here at the moment, lots of interest as Alex Zanardi walks towards to get in. I spoke to him earlier on, he said this was one of his ambitions, one of his dreams to drive an endurance race, although he wasn't exactly excited about it, more nervous. As you mentioned, one extra mechanic allowed to help him in. You can see there's an extra pole to help him into the car. They've had to change the wheel over because it's got extra controls for him to use his hands. As a stop goes, they're putting slicks onto the car. It seems, to all intents and purposes, a very slick stop. Adders.
Thanks, OJ. Yeah, fascinating to see some onboard footage of this as well, and what goes on inside the car, different from other pit stops with, as you mentioned, the change of steering wheel, the change of controls. Of course, it's far from easy to get into one of these cars under normal circumstances, never mind when you have prosthetic limbs. And Alex Zanardi, who has done endurance racing before, I remember him at Silverstone in the old BPR GT days, gets away now into the Spa 24 Hours for the very first time. And of course, he's going to do this, John, on a wet road with the light fading.
I mean, you couldn't have chosen a more difficult set of circumstances to go back out onto the racetrack. It's getting darker on a set of slicks, and first time on the racetrack this weekend.
So the Royal mechanics are happy and all is good. So the teams then now are preparing themselves to see what Alex is going to be like behind the wheel of this car. We know that the man is a star from what he's achieved in other categories of the sport, but he's about to be on track, and it's great to have him within the Spa 24 Hours. Of course, he's been a regular in GT racing over the last 12 months or so, with his participation last year in the Blancpain Sprint Series, but now into the Spa 24 Hours for the first time. And so Bruno Spender's had a go, Timo Glock has had a go behind the wheel, and there down the pit lane, ready to join in, is Alex Zanardi, getting everything ready. And of course, he's about to go blasting uphill. He would have raced here in Formula 1 and now in a GT car in, it's fair to say, challenging circumstances all round.
Yeah, I mean, it is I can't overestimate what this man is going to have to do, or what he will be doing. As I mentioned, just so difficult the conditions. As this, you know, it's just right on the point of getting dark, so the effect of the headlights is only really now beginning, as you see the number 2 RD in the pits, or Telly, has come in, and that was in third place when I came in, but
helped in part by other people's pit stops.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So this the overlap between everybody on different strategies, different laps. Racetrack beginning to pick up time. The last lap from Augusto Farfus at 2:24. Still the fastest lap actually by Paltala in the BMW VDS car, 2:23,
which he did last time through, so it proves how things are drying out. Also, I told you a small fin, because although Laurens Vanthoor pitted, they got the car back out just ahead of Farfus, and so the lead gap is only 1.7 seconds now between the Audi and the BMW. So it's a real proper battle, this, between the two Belgian teams. Laurens Vanthoor is ahead of the Brazilian driver Augusto Farfus, part of BMW's factory assault in the DTM. Their number 4 Audi, Sacha Botterman, brought it in, class leader at the time, in 8th place overall. So WRT leading 2 of the 3 classes. And there is number 1, but where is the BMW behind it? Let's have a look.
Difficult to tell, the lights are just...
It's got a Ferrari between, I think. There's one back marker. Let's have a look at the back. Yes, there it is. So, in fact, the 2 BMWs from VDS are together. This is the view as Farfus has a look at the inside of the traffic, but as he gets past the Ferrari, Vanthoor gets past the Porsche to put a lap on it as well. But they've got this race long. There's always going to be back markers.
And Augusto Farfus using everything and the lights to get the Porsche to react, to respond. It's not going to want to go offline. But you can see the problem Farfus has got. He's going to take a punt down the inside, but he'll be going into the damp bit of track. Thinks the wiser of it, and probably the wiser decision, because he was going to go offline on a much tighter entry into the corner. Again, he's still got the problem with the Porsche and the Vanthoor. Audi is pulling away by the corner, and now this battle of the Porsche trying to make its way past. Oh, dear me. Well, this is 24-hour racing, and you will get groups of cars getting together. Some will be the lead car, some will be the back marker, some will be somewhere in between. And Farfus, you'll imagine the Portuguese, the Brazilian driver, his language is not going to be too choice, and he will be frustrated. He's got to contain that frustration, not let himself be suckered into making a maneuver. He's got up alongside, but he is on the dampish part of the track as he makes the climb up the hill through the Paul Frere curve. Lights flashing in the back of the BMW. He's got to back out of it, go down a gear to get the basic drive off. He's got the drive, he'll get past. I was going to say he's had to back out of it again, because he knows if he goes offline, he's putting himself into jeopardy. So, and the fact he's allowed, well, cars got some, they're going into the 3 cars already peeling off. as they come into the pit lane, including, I think that is Augusta, is that Farfus? It is, Farfus is in, so great stint by DTM driver. It's 46 Paltala driver, still with the fastest race lap, 2 minutes 23.3, and he is still on his way.
Now we have news of another spinner, and that was car 83 that had a drama a little while ago, and that was the Bentley from Team HTP that runs in the Pro-Am category. It has got going again, so the drama is over as the Mark VDS BMW pits here. It was Louis Machiels that had the spin, and this is now Farfus, having got himself up into second place, now pitting.
So Farfus, he's not, he's out of the, what's happening? Is he out of the car? He is. So a little bit of delay getting the engine fired up, and even though it might be 2-3 seconds of a delay, that's how races can be won and lost. So the VDS team take their tyres back into the garage, and they'll be stacked as the car makes its way around the very tight corner. You've got to be so careful when you're making your way out of the pit lane that you don't run over the white line, the demarcation line between the pit lane and the racetrack proper. Hey, Vincent, is that Chinese or is that a bit of frite and mayonnaise? And Dr. Ulrich, still those eyes just absolutely, I mean, I tell you what, the TV screen's probably melting with his intensity.
That's Linders then, woolly hat on, it's getting cold, poor chap. And down the pit lane goes 45, so Farfus brought it in. And is he going to be able to get out? Yes, he is. I think the pit lane light was still on green. Yes! So he doesn't have to wait for another wave of cars. He's good, he goes. So back into the race, he blasts up the hill. We're back to green flag conditions, of course, here racing. So he's able to rejoin now. Pit lane light on green. He wasn't held at all by anybody there. So the run up the hill, of course, means that you can bleed back in much easier. So he wasn't delayed at the end of the pit lane at all. Here is how we look on pit stops. Number 1 has spent, with its 5 stops, nearly 12 minutes in the pits. Number 2 placed car, 45 BMW, just under 11 minutes. And then in 3rd place, with 9 minutes and 49 cumulative time, is a 99 Mercedes. That is a very good run by that car.
Absolutely. I mean, to do it in 9:49 is, you know, to be effectively over 2 minutes less down time is a bonus. And Daniel Juncadella, it's still Juncadella behind the wheel, it is.
Yeah.
So, still lights flashing as one of those. Aston Martin comes out of Lake Coombe, and then the drop down into Bruxelles. Confidence is rising because lap times Farfus now has got the fastest lap.
Off the road.
Same place as Sundstrom.
Triple A BMW.
Salaquada gone off, but I don't think he has hit the barrier with the degree that we saw from Salaquada, but it's a yellow flag.
It's Ryan Ratcliffe in the 888 BMW that's gone off. And I was about to tell you that there's a yellow flag at that part of the circuit because we'd seen on the timing screen a reference to a yellow flag, but that's the reason why, and it is Ryan Ratcliffe who's had it off. He certainly damaged the rear of the car.
Yeah, he's got a left rear suspension damage plus the rear wing. Now, I suspect he's going to try and limp it back. He's only, what, a quarter of a mile away from the pit lane entrance, and assuming he can drive the car without doing anything that would impede anybody else's progress, then he will try and get it back as the Audi team are again preparing for one of their chargers to come into the pits.
So we have a yellow flag out, but are we going to go full course yellow? Are we going to go safety car? It depends, I suppose, on whether the car can, as John's suggesting, be limped back to the pit lane. Number 10 Ferrari going through, and we are going to have, by the look of it, a safety car because there was a flashing yellow light there, and safety car is deployed. Safety car is deployed. It is interesting, this, because genuinely, when I talked to the race director in the week, he said, I'll go full course yellow, get everyone slowed down, and then, if I need to, I'll put the safety car out. But we're going safety car more regularly.
Yes, and I mean, again, just adds to the frustration of everybody that was preparing to make a pit stop, and of course they're going to get caught by the same trap at the end of the pit lane exit. There is the safety car already on one of the 2 safety cars. So everything is brought in control. It didn't look to be a shunt into the tyre barrier, which had only been repaired some half an hour ago, but may well be much worse than we can see. We're only just seeing it from a long-range camera view. We don't know just whether that tyre bale has been debaled or it just needs to be pushed back into position.
Well, Ryan Ratcliffe, who had a big off at Silverstone last year in his Blancpain debut, has suffered here at Blanchimont. We're into another safety car period. This is our 5th, plus 2 full course yellows.
The thing I find interesting is that lots of, I would call them grade 1 FIA circuits, are going away from gravel traps to having tarmac. It doesn't actually seem to arrest cars.
No, you're right. It gives it the track limits problem, but it doesn't do with the original task of slowing down with the adhesion.
All it means is there's no gravel to be dragged back on the racetrack. Yeah. But it doesn't seem to be slowing. When a car is spinning, it just seems to spin probably further than it would do in a gravel. The danger of gravel is a car can take a bite and then it can get into other forms of difficulty. But certainly 2 cars going off, both have had contact with the tire bale.
Marcus Paltela in. That's the second of the Mark VDS cars. It was 8th when it came into the pit lane. Hoping, of course, to lose less time under the pit stop like this, under the safety car conditions. Good stop there.
Yeah, but again, where is he going to come in? Is he going to get held at pit lane? What, a moon? A moon? Is he going to get held at the end of the pit lane while they wait for the chain of cars behind the set? Well, there's Parker Racing's Audi. It's sitting down there. It's not going to go anywhere. The line of cars is... Oh, look at the sparks coming off those titanium skid blocks. He's moving, so he's... maybe Paltela will be lucky and not be delayed if he can get down the pit lane before.
No, he's not going to be there, is he?
Well, you can't quite see him yet coming down. There he is coming now. You just get the headlights as he comes down. So will he be held or will he be lucky? And sometimes in life it's better to be lucky than it is to be good.
Now there's the Attempto Racing Porsche from the AM class, heading off down the pit lane, and it will have to sit and wait because they weren't in the queue when the car ahead was released. The way the race director described this to me the other day was, you've got to be in the queue to catch the bus, you can't be somewhere else. No, but they were somewhere else.
Luckily, the queue of cars is actually only a few seconds behind the point where the BMW came to rest, and now will they release the cars in the pit lane, or will they wait until the next safety car trundles through? Well, the lights
point
are...
That.
Yeah.
Because those are the stragglers catching up to a safety car, aren't they?
So, I mean, this is where I don't quite get it.
Yeah.
Why could they not be released? Because all they would be doing is joining the tail of that particular safety car train.
Now, are there more stragglers to come that they will be released behind? Don't know, because I haven't got a graphic of the rest of the lap, but there's precious little traffic going past.
Well, there's nothing. There's nothing. I mean, that's the point of all these double safety car circumstances. I don't know why those cars could not have been allowed to rejoin the track following that safety car line.
Now, the safety car has just gone over the timing line, which comes out of the bus stop, so it's on its way, so they won't be there for much longer, but of course they have lost time by sitting there. And safety car procedure will go on with 1 safety car, we've now been told on the timing screen. So are we abandoning the 2 safety car procedure? Interesting.
Well, what can I do? Let's get the race director on the radio and let's have a word with them.
Yeah.
Let's find out what is the decision. Why would that decision be made?
I mean, if that is, okay, it's positive, but it also is a little bit mean on those that have suffered early on in the race, but it's a step forward potentially. But literally, it's just come up on the screen to say safety car procedure will go on with 1 safety car.
Now, I certainly would favour, in future events, 24 events here at Spa-Francorchamps, a single safety car, as long as it is possible to have a virtual safety car scenario to enact. So that would, I hope, would cover the basis.
Let's hear from Timo Glock next while we have the safety car period. Timo out of the BMW, he's in the pits with OJ.
Timo, I don't want to interrupt you taking a drink, but when we just had a quick chat about your stint, you said it was fun out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the car was amazing to drive. It was the first lap for me ever in the Set 4 in the wet conditions. So I had no chance before to find out how the car is, but the car makes it for me so easy to adapt to it, and we had just a very good pace throughout the stint, and then when we changed back to slick tires, we had straight away a good speed. I think we were one of the quickest cars out there. And then there was this long safety car, roughly about 20 minutes, and then I had another 5-6 laps, and we were again the quickest car. So at the moment everything looks good. I enjoyed myself out there, and now we need to see how we get on through the night. I think Alex has a proper time now to have some fun out there. It's getting really dark now, and it's pretty cool out there at the moment. So I hope he's enjoying it, and we keep on working like this and see how we go on.
Timo, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Timo Glock heads back to the pit bunker. More pit stops cycle through, and as Ryan Ratcliffe's car is recovered, we are under safety car at Spa. Let's remind ourselves of how we got to this point early on in the race, with the track being wet for the start, and in the gloom the cars set off behind the safety car, ready for the start of the 2015 edition of the Total 24 Hours of Spa. Frank Stippler was the man on pole position, but he was a bit slow away from the line. That enabled Kevin Est and Alvaro Parent to run 1-2 for McLaren through Eau Rouge for the first time. Early drama for 75, Frederic Verviche making little contact with Jean-Carl Vernet, and then just clipped by the Tony Villander Ferrari, which ultimately would go off the road as well. And a brake caliper issue was the reason for this, but was it also to do with that contact that had been the catalyst a lap before? 75 Audi wouldn't last until dark either, because that would go out after an accident, as the Bentley 7 of Guy Smith worked its way up through the traffic, getting ahead of the Mark VDS BMW. Safety car 1, Gilles Dequesne off the road into the barriers. The disabled French driver needing to be attended to. That brought out the safety car, but it wasn't a long period by the standards of subsequent interventions. We went back racing. Safety car 2, Karim Auger into the barrier, airborne, big spin, broken suspension, front and rear, wheels ripped off, massive damage, and Karim Auger, for the second year in a row, a very frustrated driver. He's okay, but the car rather less so, and sad to say, Karim is out of the race. As the drivers then blasted back on track after pit stops, we had Kevin Est ahead of René Rast, the McLaren, keeping the Audi, the new R8 LMS, at bay. Fans, cameras trained on the action stood trackside, as into the pit lane came Mark VDS with the 2 BMW Z4s to cycle through the next round of pit stops. The Auger accident didn't take long to clear the car, but it did take a long time to sort out the barrier damage. A whole new section needed to be inserted and then welded into place. M-Sport turned the Bentleys around and back into the race as quickly as possible. Alvaro Parent had led into the pits, and he had to elbows out, get himself into the queue to rejoin. In doing so, he'd rather put the Jaguar behind the dark blue Emile Freyron car off its stride, and that, with an electrical issue, didn't want to go anywhere. The barrier damage was almost finished by the time the cars were ready to get back underway. The road had dried as well, and that meant that soon teams rolled the dice, came into the pits and put slick tyres on. And you know what happens at Spa when you try and get clever, you get bit. It wasn't long before the rain came once again. Within 4 laps of people going on to slicks, down came the rain. RJN had lost out with the Nissan because the decision to go onto slicks hadn't worked. And the same for the 2 Phoenix Racing Audis that lost overall 2 laps as a consequence of having to keep on pitting and change from one set of tyres to another, from wets to slicks and then back to wets. And that meant that Christopher Mies and Marcel Fassler were hugely frustrated, and Mies, who's racing these days in the Australian GT Championship, was right on the money and quickly worked his way back ahead of Maro Engel. For Écurie Écosse, a class lead in Pro-Am had been the result of Alexander Sims' work. We had a full course yellow because of the rain, and that soon became a full safety car after Michele Rugolo and Jean-Carl Vernet made contact. Out of the race was Rugolo, into the pits was JKV. Out on track, the weather conditions were grim once more, and as the race continued, up from the back of the grid, number 63, Mirko Bortolotti had brought the Lamborghini Huracan after an engine change after qualifying into second place. Ollie Bryant took over from Alexander Sims in the Écurie Écosse Barwell Run BMW. Sims brought it in the lead of the class, and Ollie Bryant has kept it up in the mix as well in his next stint. René Rast, with the skies brightening, headlights ablaze, worked his way through the traffic. Mark VDS was still the team, though, that had its 2 BMWs evenly matched as both were released back into the race. So car 1 went from Rast to Lawrence Vantor. As darkness fell, off the road went Alexei Karachev as well, spinning down past the old pit. It was a big, big lose. The car rejoined, but then parked again out on track. Mercedes clattering the barriers as it went, and there was also drama in the pit stops for Bentley. Mechanic falling over on the wet pit lane and dropping a wheel. Time lost there. And then drama as Philippe Salaquada went off at Blanchimont, did a lot of damage to the Audi. He was okay, but the car out of the race. And a similar incident put pay to the chances of Ryan Ratcliffe as well, because he went off at Blanchimont a few minutes later. Well, the safety car is due in this lap, so we are back to race conditions any moment, because as you can see, the field is turning its way up through Blanchimont, and so the safety car here will peel in. The lights are out, you can see on top of it, so this group will go racing this time, and the yellow flags will be withdrawn. So we've had, for this instance, just the one safety car. The reasoning behind all of that we're trying to get to the bottom of, and it's number 5 at the head of the queue. It's a car that's quite a long way down the overall order, the Phoenix run Audi there you can see. So we are set to go racing once more as the cars accelerate their way over the timing line. We are back under live conditions here. Nicky Tim in number 5 in 16th place is the first over the line, and there you can see the effects of one long line of cars.
I know it's detrimental to those at the very back of that line, and some of them may well be out of position, but I'd rather actually have that than have this double safety car procedure. I just think it's a more, people understand it, and I think people can deal with it more easily than if they're caught out by one safety car disadvantaging another one or the other, whichever way around it is. So for those at the very tail, and you could even have the race leader at the very tail of that safety car line, to me it's a purer and better solution to controlling a race when it needs to be.
I would go along with that, John, wholeheartedly. And so whether that's just for that use or whether it's now for the rest of the race, we're trying to get to the bottom of, but the race is back underway, and we've got more cars going through pit stops. Even though we've just gone green, some teams have elected to bring them in right at the end and been caught out by the safety car peeling off. So we're back to proper race conditions. The track dry, you can see a dry line. It's still damp off line, isn't it?
Oh, make no mistake, straight off the dry bit of the racetrack, even though your tyres are warm, and you'll have that heart in your mouth moment. And even just watching coming down as the two Bentleys go side by side up into La Source, you're just, oh, and there you go. Just caught the damp line on the way into La Source, left rear tyre, slightly damper than the right, and around the baby goes, and simple as that.
So that was Andy Merrick at the wheel of the car that was in 33rd place, and the field streaming downhill, and now Spa starts to have a completely different feel because the lights are on in the paddock, the barbecue smells are there, the fireworks will be going off.
Copacabana
in session as well. You can't wait, I know. But the whole place just feels different, and this is another of the attractions of nighttime racing.
Well, the biggest attraction of nighttime racing for me was going home to bed. I mean, I have to say, I competed in about 8 or 9 24-hour races and managed to only finish a very few. And there is a wonderful feeling of achievement when you do complete a 24-hour race. On the other hand, if you're destined not to finish, as we get a glimpse, just watch the Bentley as it's going to go. And that was a Ferrari getting an assist.
Oh, yes, it was.
But that was and that's the Bentley as well now. What was that all about? Did the Bentley get caught out by the Ferrari, or was it just coincidental that both caught the same damn bit of track? But anyway, if you're going to drop out of a 24-hour race, drop out the earliest possible time you possibly can. I mean, the worst thing is to get to 23 and a half hours and you fail to finish. I mean, that is a real gut-wrenching emotion to deal with. But when you do achieve it, when you finish it, you feel elated. You really feel like you are, for a short time anyway, walking on air.
Wasn't it Le Mans 1990 when Enes Perez retired with about 15 minutes to go from being in second place as Porsche caught fire? I mean, that was just soul destroying for the Spanish driver.
Yeah, I mean, and because in Le Mans in particular, and I assume the same applies here, you're only classified if you finish.
Yes.
As opposed to other events where you will be classified regardless of where you might finish, whether you're 1 lap down or 100 laps down. Again, up at Les Combes, some beginning to feel confident enough to flirt with the curb on the exit. It's pretty much dried out. The reason the curbs are slippery isn't the curb itself, it's because they're painted. As we get the onboard view, suddenly we've got a highlighted image from this camera as we go down the hill into Pujol. looking for the lighter coloured bit of racetrack. You can see on the inside there's still dampness there, on the outside still dampness. They can run the curve on the outside of Pujon, back up to the top of the racetrack. Actually, best is back down to this is the bottom, sorry, I beg your pardon, down to Stavelot, or as it's now called, Campus. So the car's just simply making their way 45. One of the two marked VDS BMWs. That's the car that currently is in third place, and driven by Dirk Werner. So the joys of 24-hour racing. This is meant to be what 24-hour racing is all about. You go from daylight into dusk and then into darkness, and it can be magical, but at the same time it can be very lonely, because there will be occasions on the racetrack where any one of these cars could find themselves in a bit of clear space, nobody directly behind them, nobody directly ahead of them, and sometimes you wonder what's happened, where have they all gone? Inevitably you catch up, you get caught, and that is, as I say, part of the charm, the magic of competing 24 hours. Nürburgring, Spa, Daytona Beach, Le Mans, wherever. And of course we've now got races out in the Middle East as well, and of course in Australia. So it is a big, big challenge. Those are the lights giving you a pretty good indication of just simply how narrow that dry line is. And on the way down into Eau Rouge, the actual line is much narrower because the cars are using the curb on the inside. They're running over the painted curbing. It's the paint that makes those curbs so slippery when it's damp.
And now we're heading into proper darkness here as well, aren't we? So as the teams battle into the night, 45 now has Dirk Werner at the wheel, and he's going after the 99 Mercedes. Danny Juncker at the wheel of it. He's just also having to think about the 35 Audi, which is Edward Sandstrom.
I'm just looking at the timing and scoring. Kurt Team, 2 minutes 21.2. I was going to say the fastest first sector time. Well, his last lap was a 2 minutes 21. When you consider the pole position time in qualifying, you know, low fuel, fresh rubber, probably new rubber, was at middle 2:18. To do a 2:21 in these track conditions on tires that have probably done a substantial number of laps. Well, young is a Kurt Team, Nicky Team is
son of, yeah,
right on it right now, in that number 5 Audi.
Two absolute best, middle sector absolute best as well. He's a real mystery, Nicky Team, because there are some days when he, in Carrera Cup racing, for example, former Porsche Super Cup champion, he's absolutely blinding, and other days he's very anonymous and doesn't really make an impact. But right now he's making a big impact, and Audi engineers that I've talked to reckon he's the real deal, and he's proving the point now as we ride on board with Dirk Werner. He's dropped back behind Edward Sandstrom then, so the Audi up one place. Lance Vanthoor is leading by 21.7 seconds, but here the BMW in monochrome heads up towards the bus stop. Being even more eerie this as they break for the corner now. Through the bus stop, the BMW right on the tail here.
There's not really very much to choose between the two cars in the middle of the right-left chicane. And of course the Audi accelerates that a little bit earlier, and the gap stretches and then back up into La Source. And again those steel brakes glowing in the darkness shows the heat that these brakes generate in a very short space of time. Not carbon fiber brakes, but steel brakes. They don't cool down the same rate that a carbon fiber brake would do, and that's one of the issues again that drivers have to manage, because previous years in Spa you would never have thought that you'd have to do a disc pad change. Now, I suspect when we get into daylight on Sunday morning or somewhere, we will have to see a number of teams coming in and making a strategic brake pad disc change.
A mole of mine at Audi reckons they will consider that only after 15 hours of the race, and they can get the car into the box, do the disc and pad change and out again in 50 seconds.
Well, we saw them do a similar thing at Nürburgring in 2013, I think it was. And literally the car came in, the jacks went up, the dollies were under the car, spun around. If you could get that on your normal road car, you took your Audi in for a service, the dealers would go out of business. They couldn't charge enough. The hourly rate is where they make the dosh.
Well, look for it tomorrow, because it's going to be happening It's not a regulation, but it will happen because just on wear and tear. So it's going to be happening as there the brake lights glow up towards Le Con. Through the right, left, right. It is 10:10 just about here, and at 10:30 we'll have hit 6 hours, and that's when points are awarded in the classes. It's 12 points for being in the lead of your class at the 6 hour mark. And where are the 3 Pro Cup contenders? Well, at the moment, 23 is way down in 18th place overall. And let's have a replay here, just quickly to break away from championship things to see what's been occurring.
Well,
waiting to see a car on front.
Yeah, the car, it's hard to tell as it's coming down into Pau. It's just so difficult to see.
There's some bodywork on the road. Something's lying in the ground. Look, just.
Oh yes,
yes, headlights.
Yes. I don't know whether that's the replay, whether that was.
And there is a car that comes into view.
Yeah, but there's the car pulled off on the right-hand side of the racetrack.
Yeah.
Now that's not the bodywork from that car. That's an incidental moment. But whether that has been something that has occurred further up the racetrack, difficult to read that one precisely, because the flare of these headlights is just about blinding everybody looking into them. Nicky Thiem still improving, still fastest in that. He's been consistently fastest in this, the first sector. Sparks coming from the bottom of that. Is that lost a wheel? Car making its way up through Blancpain. You can see the sparks pouring from underneath the car. Just we got a glimpse of it, couldn't quite identify who it is. It's going to make its way back slowly. There it is, climbing up. And is it the right front is detached from that Audi at 36. So a problem for the Sport Garrett. It's gone right off the track, the centre lock car. So that is getting back across the track into the pit lane. The right front has detached. Now I wonder, was that what had occurred on the run down into Pau? Was it actually the wheel came off, and then obviously the car would have been travelling considerably slower? So it's made its way back up. It's probably ground away half the underbody of the car in the process. Hopefully that car can be serviced, turned around and put back out on track.
So Michael Blancpain bringing it back in, but of course it's not just the problem, it's all the time you lose on the way in. There, really hurling the car over the curb for Marc VDS. That's the 46 BMW. Pounding on. Who did put the wheel of that on the last pit stop?
Went all the way down in 26th place, Marcus Paltella. Still, I don't know how they got so far out of position. Now, that can't have been simply a question of being in the wrong part of the track with the safety car deployment. There was something that occurred. We still really are none the wiser, but Marcus Paltella running hard, but it's his sister car. That's the car that is in. Just looking down to see who it is, but still Nicky Thiem.
Adrian Zaug in the green Lamborghini is 7th, and he's being caught by Rob Bell in 58, the orange, if you can pick it out from the headlights. McLaren, so this is another battle for position. 7th and 8th they run, and as the cars now accelerate their way up through Le Col, Zaug is under attack. The gap was slightly down a lap ago, but then up in the first couple of sections of this lap, and it's pretty evenly matched between the two.
Yes, remember this car, the orange McLaren, led this race really from the moment the lights went out, with Kevin Estre doing a brilliant job. And of course, as everybody then found out with the safety car, particularly the double safety car, if you were in the wrong part of the track at the wrong time, and also by making the, if you like, premature judgment to go onto a set of slick tires when the number 1 Audi opted to stay on the wet tire, even though it was initially losing time. But Audi knew something that maybe nobody else was aware of, that rain was about to return, and within the space of 10 minutes of the cars that changed to slicks, they had to go back in. So consequently they had that additional pit stop. Look at the flames shooting out of the back of the McLaren as it changes gear.
And the gap's come down, hasn't it? Rob Bell being given his first outing in the car in the race, in the dark of course, but Rob, one of those light bulb drivers, put him into anything, switch him on and he'll go. He's just a real star, Rob Bell. Nicky Thiem is up to his tricks, but so also now, absolute best in sector 1, out of nowhere, Jelmer Berman in the Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean, Jelmer Berman running currently 6th place. Whoa, 2 cars in contact at La Source.
One of them is the Christodoulou Mercedes, and 29 Mercedes is nearest us, 11 is the other. That's the Kessel Racing Ferrari. Let's try and piece it together, John.
Yeah, we're just trying to look and see. Well, I know what happened. The Ferrari was coming up the inside, and the Mercedes was literally just didn't see it because he had his focus on the car directly ahead of him. That was a very ambitious manoeuvre by the number 11 Ferrari to think that it could have gotten through there. I don't know who was behind the wheel. That's the car Michael Lyons was due to drive when there was Pacini Lyons.
It was Pacini.
Pacini, well, he was the hot rod in the car, and that car is over. And the Mercedes, likewise, is now. That's pretty much the end of its run as well.
Nico Verdonk.
Yeah, that's a great shame. Well, the Ferrari's running. I mean, there was heavy damage on the left front side of the car. He's got to do a full lap if he's going to get back to the pits. I think he wants to go and have a word, and understandably so, because it was just an unguided missile. Came down the inside. Again, may well have gone onto the damp bit of track, which would have made a significant difference. So huge disappointment. A car, Mercedes, that had been competitive throughout the race so far, just after 10 o'clock at night. So that will be extremely, two cars. I don't think the Ferrari really is capable of making any progress. I'm not sure how much damage is done to the Mercedes. You know, getting out of the car and walking away from it. I don't know whether he could have maybe. Let's go back to 23 Nissan.
The incident is straight away under investigation, you won't be surprised to learn, but I mean, barely had the dust settled before the stewards wanted to have a look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it happened on their doorstep.
Yeah.
And it was graphically shown on replay. The Ferrari took a massive lunge down the inside where it was a closing gap because the Mercedes was in a battle with the car ahead of it. It was opportunistic and ill-judged, and sadly, two cars have been taken out, two competitive cars too, top 10 finishers potentially. One of those cars, the Ferrari, potential winner of the Pro-Am category.
And Andrea Pacini, a former winner of the event, should know better, but a wild moment, and it's put that car out of the race effectively because it's going to lose so much time, and it's certainly done for the Mercedes. But I agree with you, I'm surprised Nico Verdonk walked away so readily without perhaps trying to drag him back to the pit lane. Well,
we don't know the damages on the right-hand front of the car. We don't know whether that affected the steering, but you know, I would have thought the Mercedes certainly was more. Let's have a look at it again and see. Just watch the Ferrari all of a sudden lunges up the inside. I mean, now the damage to the Mercedes doesn't look to me to be. It's bumping and bouncing, but I would have thought that might be recoverable.
Well, the Black Falcon team looking on, rather thinking.
Well, I think they're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Where's the driver gone?
Yeah.
Well, the Ferrari. Of all the two cars that would make it back, the Mercedes, to me, was the one that probably had the most likely chance of doing so. But it's the Ferrari that's been fired up. And where's the driver? Where's Verdonk?
Well, the car's about to go into a flatbed. If it's on a flatbed, it's game over.
Yeah, but I mean, the damage looked to be much worse on the Ferrari. The Mercedes is built like, you know, the proverbial.
Yes.
I mean, you could do that all day long and still get it back to the pits under most circumstances.
So it is a Ferrari limping back, and as you made the point, it's a long lap. There is Verdonk, who might have been a bit previous getting out of that car.
I think he has been so, and I think the team will say to him, you know, why did you abandon the car? I understand your frustration and anger. I'd love to see how much damage to the right front there is. I mean, is that Verdonk having a look at it down on his hands and knees? Is he ruining his judgment of walking away without actually fully? And look at the team.
Yeah,
they're incredulous.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, similar thing happened a few years ago in the wet at the bus stop when Jacques Villeneuve was in the race in a Mosler and went off and hit the wall, and the car wasn't that badly damaged, and it was within sight of pit in, and he got out and walked away.
Jacques did?
Yeah.
Well, he's done that all his life, hasn't he?
Well, I was waiting for you to say something like that. I fed you the line, you see.
Yeah,
but
well, I took it. I'll tell you what, I'm going fishing in Iceland in a week's time. If I get a salmon as big as that one, I'll be more than happy.
But similar situation. I mean, Nico Verdonk is an experienced GT and long-distance driver, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He perhaps knows something about that we can't see. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm surprised he hasn't tried to drag it on at all. Anyway.
But he seemed more intent on having a word with the Ferrari driver. He didn't probably know who it was. And for some reason just simply turned away from the car.
Safety car's been deployed. Safety car deployed. That should be for the recovery of that Mercedes.
Well, the Mercedes is on the back of the truck. Yeah. It's been driven away. I don't know what that problem is. There's no sector that has got a yellow flag that we are aware of, but safety car has been deployed. And is it a single safety car or a double safety car?
Well, good question. It's the 6th safety car period of the race, and I'm assuming it is for the recovery of Nico Verdonk, and maybe also to get any bits of bodywork off the road, because in the darkness there'll be bodywork across the track, and that would need clearing, wouldn't it?
Inevitably, if it's carbon fibre, it will be black, because all carbon fibre in its base form is dark grey black, and so they may want to make a clean sweep as we look at 84 Bentley up on the jacks. Is that a rear pad change? They're doing something on the rear brakes of the car. That would be a little bit early in the race to see a pad change.
There's a man looking for his head, which he last saw under a Bentley's wheel arch.
It gets hot under there. I mean, the brakes, discs and calipers get mighty hot. So the heat can trap under those wheel arches. Should be released, but whatever he's doing, he's working hard on that right rear brake.
Some people pay a fortune for a sunbed, but an alternative is to put your head near a brake disc on a Bentley. Come out with a glowing tan, but it's a long old problem, whatever it is.
Who said motorsport was glamorous?
Yeah.
So the job has been complete. The rear tyre goes on, so they're going to take off all 4 or all remaining 3.
Could that be pick up from tyre rubber sort of in the wheel arch that would need cleaning?
I don't think so. I don't know what he was doing, whether there was something. I mean, there was only that right rear that was the side was being attended to. So whatever it was, there was something that had been spotted when the wheel change was taking place, and rather than just simply send it back out again and think it would disappear, they had to attend to it. But it was only on the right rear, so maybe it was something that got trapped. But it looked to me to be a pad brake disc issue.
Well, let's see if we can encourage OJ in that direction. See if he can go.
Well, it's a long way up the pit lane.
Oh, it is. Well, he's up for the challenge now. It's dry. 21 has come in,
and the door
is off.
Well,
largely.
I'm not quite sure what it's doing. I mean, has it become? We've seen these doors have a problem in the past.
That's definitely
on SLSs. So, has the hinge? Something has gone wrong with the mechanism that locates the door.
Now, you've got a mechanic working on the car to sort the door out while it's being refueled. Can you do that under the regulations?
Not unless you're in the garage, I would have assumed. You're only allowed 2 people working in a car.
Now there's the Bentley mechanic who was under the wheel arch trying to sort out the issue.
Give him a glass of water, guys.
Give him a drink.
No, it is. I mean, you might joke about it, but those discs are mighty hot. And if you're working with all your racewear and whatever to protect you, in effect, that door does not look satisfactorily located, and it's just, they can't send the car out until that door. In fact, the door's got to be taken off, get a new set of hinges on it, or get a spare door. And it's just I've never seen a door on an SL. I've seen them pop open, but never seen one become detached. And it's as if the actual location within the hinge has failed, and that's why the whole thing's flailing around. But suddenly you've got 4 engineers in the pit lane attending to it. I didn't think you were allowed to do that. They've got it back. They've got the hinge back in location. I thought they had to do that in the garage.
I agree with you, and I'm just looking up to just double check how many people you can have working, because I think there's a penalty brewing for that car now.
Well,
after that.
I would have thought you're allowed 2 people in the car in the pit lane at any one time. I don't think there's a force majeure situation for a gull-wing Mercedes-Benz to be attended to by 4 people. There is the wrecker coming around the racetrack, having, I think, deposited the Mercedes of Nico Verdonk into the Parc Fermé. And again, safety car brings the line of cars, and everybody makes their way past that. So where is that vehicle going to end up? Is there another access road somewhere that it can get parked in? There's a couple of the race fans enjoying the early evening here in Spa-Francorchamps, 20 past 10 in the evening. Having a touch of the old local brew. I wouldn't mind to drop that myself, but obviously on air, drinking and broadcasting is an absolute no-no. And we see, car off on the left-hand side there. We didn't see why that is. Now, is that the reason why the safety car has been deployed? Just caught a glimpse of it as the coming out of Stavlo.
Number 1, the race-leading Audi has pitted, but has also been off the road, I think, because we've just been told that car 1 has rejoined the track at turn 15.
That's down at Stavlo.
Yeah.
So there was a car parked down at Stavlo. We don't know what's happened to the lead Audi.
So car number 1 has had a drama somewhere, and it has dropped into 11th place. It has now pitted, but significantly, car number 1 has had a drama. And as soon as we can get to the pits and have a look at that, we'll try and catch up on what it is that's happened. But number 1 now is a lap down, and this is significant. Let's just quickly catch up, reminding ourselves of what's been going on in the race thus far, with the wet start to the race, and with Kevin S making the best of the starts. But when the race got underway, it was a McLaren 1-2 early doors, as we had first of all the orange, then the white Von Ryan Racing McLarens running together with Kevin Est ahead of Alvaro Perez. Early casualty, Frederic Verviche, as he tagged Jean-Carl Vernet, was tagged in turn by Tony Villander in the AF Corsa Ferrari, and that then, a lap later, or 2 laps later rather, went off after this excursion into the gravel going through Bruxelles. Guy Smith in number 7 Bentley, trying to get himself up through the order and find a way past the first of the Mark VDS BMWs. Early doors, number 7 was looking strong, but then we had the first safety car period that threw everyone's race up into the air, and it was caused by Gilles Duquesne going off the road up at Les Combes, and that car came to a halt with a fair amount of damage. The safety car was deployed. We went back racing with the leading 3 cars having really been given a big advantage, and then the second safety car soon followed, Karim Auger having a big off. So the field turning their way with a lengthier safety car period this time because of the damage, and Karim Auger for the second year in a row out of the race after an incident. Into the pits came 45, which was the first of the Mark VDS BMWs, and followed in by 46. The 2 of them cycling through pit stops as the barrier damage was repaired. The Bentley's back into the race as the barriers were repaired up at Les Combes, and that was a lengthy safety car period during which it meant that the road had started to dry, and therefore when we got to the restart it was a chance for people to think about going on to slick tyres. Some rolled the dice and decided that was exactly what they should do. But it didn't take long for the track conditions to change once again, because within 4 laps of going on to slicks, down had come the rain. Back in they came for wet tyres, and those drivers that were caught out, amongst them the Phoenix Racing Audis, well, they were really miserable about that. Christopher Mies and also Marcel Fassler carving their way through the traffic and into contention. A full course yellow came out because of the weather conditions. That became a safety car after an incident involving Jean-Carl Vernet and Michele Rugolo. Vernet to the pits, Rugolo out of the race. More tyre changes down in the pit lane. Up to second from the back of the grid had come 63 Lamborghini in the hands of Mirko Bortolotti. That car then dropped away on the next cycle of pit stops, but as some blue sky came out, it was still car 1 leading the way in the hands at the time of René Rast. So car 1 was the leading car for the time, and with René Rast behind the wheel, Laurens Vanthoor was to take over. A big spin coming down towards Eau Rouge for number 70, Alexei Karachev, and the dramas at M Sport resulted in a mechanic slipping, losing his footing and dropping a wheel. A little bit more time lost, and when time is so critical in the pit stops, things like that you can ill afford. So, next casualty, Philip Talaquada. That was safety car 4 out of the race. Barrier repairs required. The Audi, looking pretty sorry for itself, came down the pit road, and the fans got themselves ready for the next action, whether it was on track or indeed in some cases they got themselves ready for dinner. With the road drying, people started to push a little bit harder, but the safety car led them around as 29 Mercedes pitted and Nico Verdonk got on board, although his would not be a happy stint. An incident was not far up the road for him. Another car in trouble would be the 888 BMW of Ryan Ratcliffe. That would also have dramas at the exit of Blanchimont. First of all, though, it was a chance for Alex Zanardi to get on board number 9. Alex making a return to endurance racing, his 24-hour debut, and he clambered on board, the extra mechanic there to help him. Car 2, Stefan Ortelli at the wheel, blasted back down the pit lane, and that car now turning its way in 9th place overall. Ryan Ratcliffe's BMW was the cause of the 5th safety car, and when that incident had been attended to, things would get back underway, but it wouldn't be long before there was another incident involving Andrea Piccini and Nico Verdonk at La Source. The Ferrari of Andrea Piccini making its move up on the inside and coming to grief pretty spectacularly. Spa looking totally different now as we get into the night time, and the drama continues here at Spa with more spins, more dramas. We had Andy Merrick, but this is the significant development because out of sight, Laurens Vanthoor has been off the road and the car is in the pit lane, it's in the pit box, and it's already lost 2 laps.
Yes, and we saw just before, the second before we went to those highlights, there was another car off track just at the exit of the Paul Frere curb, which is the area that we believe that Laurens Vanthoor had this incident. We don't know whether there was 2 cars getting together. We don't know the reason, but the consequence of it is this car is dropping like a stone, sitting in the pit. The WRT team working furiously around the left front of the car. So the car that has controlled this race over the last couple of hours or so is really now in struggle.
So the number 1 Audi with all this repair work, but as John has made the point, it's tumbling down the order. And how much damage has it done? It's hard to see because, of course, it's in the pit box, but it's all hands to the pump, isn't it now? And what was looking like a convincing advantage is now ebbed away.
Yeah, I think the damage we are looking at is primarily around the left front, but I am not certain that there isn't also substantial damage around the left rear of the car. Got mechanics standing on the top of the engine bay looking down at that area. So rear suspension, gearbox components are all vulnerable. So it looks maybe that the majority of the damage is more to the rear of the car than it is to the front. The front maybe just had a slap against the barrier. Whatever it is, we want to know. And Laurens Vanthoor, I'm sure, isn't going to be overly happy to talk about it, but it's a significant moment in this 24-hour race. We're now 6 hours almost to the minute into this event, and we need to know what happened as the car is falling all the way. Currently 28th, static in the pits.
And you just touched on the next point I was going to make. Points given at the 6-hour mark, and of course it was leading just before 6, but it was in the pits and tumbling when we got to the point. So all the hard work to nothing. The points will be lost. OJ, is there? What news?
Well, no news really. I've tried to chat to any team boss from WRT that I can find. No one will talk to me. Vincent Voss wouldn't talk to me. As far as I can see from down here, looking closely, covered in yellow flakes, talking to a couple of photographers. Apparently, as far as we know, there was no contact with another car. He just went off, and all the flakes are from one of the tyre walls. Apparently, again, it's fixable, but I don't know how long it's going to take.
So, if Laurens Vanthoor went off on his own, that doesn't happen all that often, but big frustration for everybody involved. And occasionally you'll just see a very tall chap walking around the front of that car, which is the chief engineer, Adam Hardy, who so wants to win a 24-hour race. He missed this event last year with the impending birth of his daughter. He so wanted to win it this year, but it looks as though it's going to ebb away because of this accident.
Yes, and the majority of the damage to the car's I sort of second guessed is around that left rear corner. The sort of supervisional, sort of the slighter damage was at the left front. So, I mean, completely unexpectedly out of the darkness here at Spa, race leader Laurens Vanthoor ends up apparently on his own, losing control, hitting a tyre wall down at sector, or down at point 15, which we believe is the exit of the Paul Frere curb. He may have run a curb and the car just snapped. We do know that the curbs, if they are damp, can be treacherous and slippery. We don't know, we're only surmising. Dr. Ulrich again watches intently. Is this what was potentially the car that would win this race? Or not this particular car, but Audi take a second straight victory here at Spa. That has all been turned on its head. Laurens Vanthoor now classified, or the Audi number 1 I should say, classified 31st and showing to be 3 laps down, and that's lucky for him because it's all behind the safety car.
It's going to be
that's the only blessing. That's the only blessing.
Exactly. So the concert's in full swing.
This is Pasha in Ibiza now. Get the groove, baby.
My life gets ever more surreal, I tell you.
You've got to do something when you're in a safety car.
Well, true.
You know, what are you going to talk about? Anyway, we've got a lovely moody shot.
I like that.
From that camera. Definitely he gets the Oscar for the best moody shot at 25 to 11 in the evening on Saturday night, Spa-Francorchamps. There only was one prize anyway. So, but that's, look at that wonderful lights coming through the mist Now the next problem is, are we going to have a fog descend?
Oh, we've had everything else,
Well,
haven't we?
look at that. Look at the cool air condensing on the warmish racetrack.
But this, for me, is when any circuit with nighttime racing becomes magical. You've got the headlights on the track, the cars ploughing on through the darkness. The whole circuit takes on a completely different look and feel and atmosphere. But for some teams, the race has just gone south, hasn't it? And the Team WRT, there might be a wry smile down at Mark VDS because, of course, number one had been very much a fancied car. And now that is way out of contention. Heading down through La Source, you've got the cars then, the Audis turning through, followed by Ferraris. Plenty of the Ferraris. Where's the Nissan in this queue? Is there a Nissan to try and recognise some different shapes? BMW zone 4 through, and there's the Ferrari 111 from Kessel Racing out of the AM category. How's that doing in class, incidentally? Because it's normally pretty competitive. Steve Earle's at the wheel of it at the moment, but it is in 6th in class. Number 6 Audi, which is in 25th. Mike Rockenfeller has got behind the wheel of. Mike, who's won the Daytona 24 hours, he's won the Nürburgring 24 hours, he's won Le Mans 24 hours, he wants the Spa 24 hours as well, but his car is down in 25th place at the moment.
Still a long way to go, and probably still a considerable amount of time, because the Audi is back in the pits. Now, how did it get back to the pits? I mean, the damage must have been severe because it's still being worked on. But what did he do to the racetrack? Whereabouts did he do damage to the racetrack? Well, otherwise we wouldn't have the safety car continuing. So it must be work carrying out somewhere we can't see it with our camera positions, but wherever it is, and there's a flashing light there, don't know where that's coming from. Oh, we're back to Pasha again. Copacabana. Well, international life we lead.
I'm still trying to work out whether the safety car is anything to do with that Verdonk incident that we'd seen, or for Vantors, because as we were puzzling over why the safety car had come out, that was about the time that Lawrence Vantor went AWOL.
Well, we saw Vantor's car being put onto the back of a flatbed truck, and there's again, okay, wave yellow flags. That car was already on the back of a flatbed truck. Then we saw another vehicle coming around. I still maintain there was another car stopped on the outside of the racetrack. I think it was down by the exit of the Paul Frere curve, which is maybe incidental to what happened to Lawrence Van Thor. And we still don't know which part of the track Van Thor went off on or what damage he may well have done.
Yeah, we know he got back on down at the Paul Frere corner, and we know that he's hit a barrier down there somewhere, but where did it start? Was it snapping away at that corner, or was it purely as he came through the first element of that double right? Well, hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it. Safety car is in this time, so as the field turns its way uphill, then we're going to go racing at the end of this lap. We've had 2 safety cars, incidentally, in this period, because the last time one of them was being refueled. That's why it was just a single safety car period, incidentally. Right, we'll go racing this time. The race leader, we need to get this out of the way as well, is 99 Mercedes of Stef Dusseldorp. In second place is 35 Audi, the Santalok car now upholding honour of Edward Sandstrom. And then third for Mark VDS is 45 with Dirk Werner at the wheel. Fourth is 59 Bruno Senna in the McLaren. Fifth is 58 McLaren Rob Bell. And up into sixth place now, after a spin early on behind a safety car of all things, is Jeroen Mull in the Lamborghini from the back of the grid.
Well, who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? As we just go past the 6-hour stage of this 24-hour race, a quarter way in, just a quarter.
Yeah, and so much has happened already.
18 hours, just under 18 hours, 17 hours and 51 minutes to be precise. Yeah, we haven't really got into the meat and 2 veg of this race yet, have we? No. This is just the flirtation of a 24-hour race.
This is your hors d'oeuvre.
Everybody's, starting now to gradually calm down. We've probably just about cycled through all the driver pairings. Some cars, of course, have got 4 drivers, but the majority run 3. So coming up, and the safety car is peeling off, and the race is back underway.
Green flags are ready, safety car peels in, so this wave released as across the timing line comes the Emil Frey Jaguar then, amongst others, to go pounding down towards La Source, and as they do head into the braking zone, the race leading car is 99 Stef Dusseldorp. But of course now it's a case of spot the headlights as well as the shapes of the cars You can also do it off the engine nose as well if you're really good, because each car, one of the beauties of GT racing, has a different sound, different engine configuration. So, Stef Dusseldorp is leading, and he's actually managed to pull quite a big gap after this safety car period over Sandstrom. But Sandstrom versus Dirk Werner now for second and third places is the next battle to look for, because they were only half a second apart last time. They're going to be in the other wave of safety car though, so they'll head up towards the bus stop any moment. And we are back racing once more, but there's a lot more to come out of this Laurens Vanthoor story, that's for sure.
Well, there's the Jaguar up at the top of the circuit, and it seems to have all its lights functioning. It did have a memo to the team that, so
as you say, all seems good now, and the car is in 19th place overall. So with Freddie Barth at the wheel of it, it's going strongly, and that's good, because it's good to close that car in the past.
I mean, your Jaguar, it's not a volume manufacturer, but really doing extremely well in terms of its production, and running in 19th place.
Now 99 leads the way. Nico Bastian did a good long stint earlier. OJ has caught up with him in the pit lane now.
Nico, if there's one place to be in a race, it's at the front. A great first 3 stints from you as well.
Yeah, it was incredible. The start stint was very hard, one of the hardest I have ever done. And then 3 of them with dry conditions, rain and monsoon rain. It was everything in there. But we did a great job. So me as the driver, obviously, but also the team did a great job. Also the guys up there in the box, which is doing the strategy. Very well done, everything so far. So we are happy. It was hard, but we are happy, and in the moment we did the best job.
Wow, that's loud. You seem really pumped by it as well, really pumped by it. And when we were chatting before we did this interview, you used a swear word. How excited are you to be here and to be in the lead?
Yeah, it's incredible. It's amazing. And to be here also, I just said in the starting grid, behind me was Bernd Snyder, 5-time winner of the DTM. In front of me, Marcel Fessler, winner of the 24 Race Le Mans. Next to me, Bruno Sprenger, sorry. It was amazing, and to be part of it, it's just great. And now to be in the lead is amazing. And my special word was I shit my pants because of the weather. Sometimes it was so difficult to drive. Because of that, I was really stressed in the car. But like I said, we managed everything good.
Heroes around you, and then you beat them.
Yeah, hopefully, we are working on that. But unfortunately, it's still 18 hours to go. I would like to be here now, Sunday, 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, even better. And now standing with you here and doing the interview. That would be much better, but let's see. In 12 hours, maybe.
Let's hope that happens. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Nico Bastian's quite a character, isn't he, really?
Yeah,
racing against his heroes.
Apologise for inappropriate language, but I mean, we know what he was saying, and English is not his first language. And of course, when you work in a British team, as he may well have done in some partners' formative years, the mechanics go out of the way to teach you all the things you shouldn't say. Part of the culture.
Part of the culture, you're quite right. At the moment, his car, Stef Dusseldorp driving it, is leading by 34.5 seconds. Dirk Werner is up into second place now because Sandstrom has pitted 35 Audi, giving it to Marc Basseng. Now, number 1 is back on the track, but it has lost effectively now 5 laps. Marcus Winkelhock is at the wheel, so Laurens Vanthoor is somewhere with a story to tell if OJ's feeling really brave, but it's game over really. If you lose 5 laps in a race like this, that's an eternity.
I mean, you're never going to recover it on pace. All that can happen is you happen to be circumstantially the beneficiary of other people's misfortunes in terms of being safety car or whatever, but would love to know what caused Laurens Vanthoor to do something so uncharacteristic as that. Great job by WRT to get that car turned around, and that's the strength of a team like WRT. They've got every eventuality covered, so every item on the car is duplicated, and as soon as the team are aware of something, Vanthoor would have been on the radio, the team would have been aware that the left rear corner was damaged, so the bits that might be required would be already being taken from the incredible store spares that the team do carry with them. And they've done a great job. I mean, to get out the safety car intervention gave them a benefit, because if they'd been under normal racing circumstances, they'd have probably lost more than the 5 laps, probably nearer to 8, I would imagine.
I'm intrigued to know as well what the damage was, because it was clearly enough to keep it in there for 5 laps or so. And we'll as I say, try and find more news. But
well, there it is.
Yeah, Marcus Winkelhock at the wheel.
And the back of the car, you would never know it had been damaged. Well, there's a back down the exit of into Stavelot, into Paul Frere Courbe, and up the hill. There is number 1. Yes, sir.
You remember a little while ago we saw a Mercedes with a door falling off and lots of mechanics, and I suggested that too many people were working on the car. It's under investigation for a pit stop infringement. Are you surprised?
No.
There you go then.
No, but what I am surprised about is that the team didn't realise that they're not allowed to have more than 2 people working on the car at one time in the pit lane. And I mean, how would you suddenly allow everybody and their dog to run out and try and fix it? You'd put the car up, spin it around in the dollies, take it in the garage and do it as you should do. It's not, I mean, if we know that, what do the teams know?
Exactly, and that's the difference, isn't it, between good teams and very good teams that operate at the high level of endurance racing.
Black Falcon's a top team.
Well, you'd have thought
they're doing 24-hour races, almost every weekend.
Yeah, regulars in the VLN, you're right. Looking at the AM Cup standings on screen, just to mention that that's a class being led at the moment by Benny Simonsen in the Audi, ahead of Rigazzi, and then in 3rd spot is currently number 10, which is the ACA ASP Ferrari, which has got Jean-Philippe Belloc at the wheel of it currently. And there is 51 on screen at the moment, 51 Ferrari, which is currently leading Pro-Am. 3rd overall, Davide Rigon. Now this, we know, is a potential class-winning car, and it's good for an overall podium, that's for sure, because it's Duncan Cameron, Francisco Guedes, who was the Gentleman Trophy class, as it was then known, winner last year, Davide Rigon, and Matt Griffin. And for my money, you put Matt Griffin in a Ferrari, like the blue touch paper, and stand back, because he's an absolute star.
Yeah, I mean, and Ferrari contacted driver. I mean, I get stuff from Matt Griffin every day. His diary and what he's up to and what he's not up to. What are those lights doing over there then?
That's a
Who's gone off? 24.
It is.
Oh,
it's the Team Parker Racing AM class leading Audi. It's like what I've just mentioned, isn't it? It's Benny Simonsen at the wheel, and he's off the road, and that's significant because it's a class leading car.
Yes, and has he made contact with the tyre barrier up? Not the tyre barrier. That's like a can't quite clear. I mean, I don't know whether he's had contact or not. I don't know. Hard even to see which part of the circuit that he has gone off on from that camera angle.
Is it midway around Les Combes, possibly?
Could be, but it's just hard to tell.
Yeah.
Second guessing it all the time.
So, what do we have now? Is that going to be able to be retrieved? Can it get going under its own steam? Do we have to have an interruption? It's turn 13 under a yellow flag, piff paff.
Yep. So, may well again just have been caught out, or maybe just trying to get out of the way of somebody, or, well, the marshal trying to give him some indication, but it looks like he's in the gravel. He's got movement, he's got the car rolling.
Back into the race, good job. And good for race control for not having a knee-jerk safety car.
A good judgment. So, yeah, that was down at the bottom of the circuit, just on the exit of the fifth or I call it Fagno, whichever it is. So, luckily, he was in a circumstance where he was able to get the car rolling and back into the race. Hopefully there's no damage to the car, whether he will continue or whether he'll be instructed to come back in by the team to make sure the car is completely intact.
Now, here is a little quiz for you, John. Who do you think has just set the fastest lap of the race?
I did see it was on the 2nd page, midway down, a purple, and it's car 18 by my good friend Bernd Schneider.
Absolutely. Bernd Schneider at whatever he is, 104 or something.
You thought
now,
I was
done the fastest lap.
You thought I was sleeping here, didn't you? You thought I'm a dummy. I'm not going to have a clue. But I had picked it up that he had the fastest first sector. And I looked down and I thought, yes, 2 minutes 20 point. Was it 8:68?
Yeah.
I mean, that is a stunning time. Still not a fully dry track line, but look, there you can see. If you want to tread offline, do so at your own peril.
Yeah. Benny Simonsen back on track. Bernd Schneider is the fastest man on it at the moment then. So 18, after earlier delays, is now down in 30th spot. That was the car, wasn't it, that Sean Johnston put in the gravel. But it's back on track, and Bernd Schneider just doing what Bernd Schneider does, driving absolutely flat out. And he remains as competitive as ever. He was here a month ago in the German GT Championship and was on pole position.
Surprise, surprise. You know, I mean, Bernd is driving with, you know, in the Pro-Am category, Oliver Morley, Sean Johnson, Maro, Engel. You know, maybe he doesn't want the pressure of driving in a car, a fully professional car. You know, he's achieved so much, he doesn't have to prove anything. He's just maybe doing it because he loves to do it.
Yeah, the expectation is not quite so much in a Pro-Am car, is it? Now, just have a look at these pit stop times cumulatively now. The 99 car that leads has done an extra pit stop, admittedly, but 45, 5 pit stops, 11 minutes, and that is the car that is now running 40 seconds behind. And in fact, it's about to make a 6th stop because it's in now, so ignore that graphic because it's just changed with number 45 having come down the pit lane. So Dirk Werner brings the Mark VDS car down pit road as we approach 10 minutes to 11 here local time.
So these cars also, well, it's a quick turnaround because the engineer didn't get a chance to clean the screen fully. But they do have tear-offs on the screen. Those are very thin layers, a bit like, you know, what you might wrap up your sandwiches to go to work in. A bit more sophisticated than that. But they have maybe 2 or 3 of those in the car, and at certain points they'll pull it off. And you can't believe how much difference it makes because all of a sudden, having looked through a pretty grubby windscreen, everything is gin clear. It's just like a brand new set of tyres. It just transforms the car.
So, the rip-off visor you know all about. It's the rip-off windscreen.
Yeah, the rip-off visor. Don't see it when you do see it in open-wheel racing, but
it's done on a big scale. The BMW is back into the race then, so the lead gap will have extended. The 3rd place car had also been in. Davide Rigon brought 51 into the pit lane. So, order shuffles. And down the endurance pits goes the BMW, and now we have the firework display. There have been plenty of fireworks on track. Now it's the fireworks above the circuit as well. How distracting is this? You're trying to concentrate on your race and suddenly there are these flashes out of the corner of your eye.
It depends which part of the racetrack you're on, but obviously, you know, you see something going up in the air like that. I mean, your concentration levels normally are very intense. Your peripheral vision will pick it up. And I would imagine most drivers would think it is a firework. It's not an alien invasion here at Spa this weekend.
Now, whether that's
quite that was a little heart. Look, yeah. Little hearts. Oh, I didn't think the Belgians had them in it. I bet
that little heart isn't from Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich to Lawrence Vantour after he's off. I bet there's some fireworks in that pit box when Lawrence got back and had an explanation to give.
David, you know, think of all the great jobs that Laurent Vantour has done, and you have to balance it out. You know, everybody makes a mistake at some point. We don't know the causes. Maybe a wild animal ran across the track in front of him. Maybe a deer leapt across, Bambi leaping across the racetrack.
Matron, Watson's out of bed again.
That was pretty funny.
So, whether Bambi is responsible for Lawrence Vantour's demise, we'll have to wait and see. 40 seconds. The car has now dropped to. Marcus Winkelhock is at the wheel of it. Oh dear. And we are with Mercedes leading the way. Steph Dusseldorp at the wheel of number 99. Copacabana is popular.
I tell you what, I think the director's got something in there he's trying to sort of spot. I mean, why would we keep going back to Copacabana? Well, maybe I've answered the question.
Certainly after more than the cocktail. All right, back to the plot. Where are we? Lap 120. And we've done just under 6 hours and 21 minutes of the race now. Steph Dusseldorp is the leader. Of course, also the problems that affected Lawrence Vantour just before the 6-hour mark, affecting the championship situation because very, very few points therefore to be awarded. To get the correct readout at the end of 6 hours just to confirm where he was, but instead of 12 points for leading, it could be none at all.
Yeah, but remember, just to compound everything, you get double points for a 24-hour race.
You do at the end, so yeah. So we've had the points at 6, there's points to do at 12 as well, and then of course it's double points at the end of the race itself. Up into 2nd place has just gone Max Buch in number 8 Bentley, and up into 3rd place now number 47 Ferrari, which has taken over the lead of the Pro-Am class with Jean-Marie Buch at the wheel.
Oh, there we go.
So that's how we look at the moment. That's how we stand after 120 laps, but again it's shuffling all the time because we've got the cars cycling through pit stops all the time. And Steph Dusseldorp, the race leader, with Max Buch in number 8 Bentley, and that is the one now carrying M Sport's hopes, isn't it? Because number 7, Andy Merrick at the wheel, is a couple of laps back, down in 16th place. We've seen it had a spin, but also it lost out under the safety car. So different teams now having some cars with good, some cars with bad fortune. And what's happened here?
Oh, another incident. Big biff into the barrier.
Bentley 7, the car I just talked about, Andy Merrick, is off the road.
And that's an impact in the barrier, so
yeah,
things are changing literally, and he's got the car rolling again, but in what direction? Loads of steam coming from the radiators, so I suspect that radiator has been damaged. You can see the Bentley Malcolm Wilson, and look, the engineers, they know what's happened. They know that the radiator has been damaged. Steam, how much fluid is pouring out of the car as Andy Merrick is going to try and get it back up to the pits. He's shut the engine down. I wonder, as the team said, shut it down. Here it is, up Kemmel Straight. It's really close to the car, the Jaguar, and goes down and all the way, oh dear me, bump, bump, bump. Now that isn't what caused the damage, it's the spin trying to get back on the track. Oh, there it is. It didn't even he couldn't even turn the car.
No.
That was, let's put it this way, probably about as bad as Laurent Van Thor.
Well, the Bentley sits in a forlorn heap by the side of the road. Yellow flags are out. And we are told it has rejoined, but it doesn't look like it's rejoined to me.
Well, that's rejoining. It's smoking like a chimney. And that's steam coming from you. The bonnet on the right-hand side and the front guard. So there's damage, front suspension, front bodywork on the right-hand side. The bonnet, Andy Merrick, the door is opened. He's probably perfectly fine. And is that fluid? It is. You can see fluid already pouring from underneath the car, whether that's water, oil, or a combination of both. Bentley team gutted. Absolutely gutted.
I don't think we ever saw Stephen Kane even get into the car, did we? That might just be able to be dragged backwards. Yes, it is off the track. And all of this being done without interrupting the race.
I think the right front is hanging there like the proverbial limb, whatever. So it's not going to go any further. So number 7 Bentley, its race is run.
Looks like it, doesn't it? Too much damage for that. And a replay here coming out of the bus stop. Somebody else in strife. Oh, that was 8 Bentley, wasn't it? Getting it wrong. Max Buch.
Maxi Buch.
Yeah, in second place he is, but having a spin himself.
Well, that looked like it was self-induced by the young German driver. Now he's sort of trying to spin the car around, do a bit of a donut to get it, and in the process, the car that's about. But he's actually, I'm not sure he didn't try to get into the pit lane. What is going on? We've got drivers on the radio, we've got engineers on the phone. Guy Smith's looking there, wondering what's happened to car number 8. Is it going to be returning to the pits? Tension in the pit lane, family, friends. Terrible moments for those people. They don't know, they're waiting to hear, is he okay? There's nothing wrong with the driver. Car needs a bit of TLC, but it ain't going to get it.
No, it doesn't look like it, does it? Number 8 has recovered after its spin, the Max Buch car. But 7, the Merrick car then, stuck by the side of the road for the moment, needing to be pulled to a safer place, but it does look as though its day is done. So that's going to throw the order upside down again. Now, this is how we look after 6 hours, points awarded, and so 23 Nissan, which hadn't scored, is ahead of Bentley 7 that hadn't scored, ahead of Laurens Vanthoor who hadn't scored. It's all behind with Nico Bastian and Steph Dusseldorp that they creep into the mix because they have scored well. So by dint of having bad luck for others, Laurens Vanthoor is still in the mix as far as the championship is concerned. So the Pro Cup, as far as drivers is concerned, will continue to be a source of intrigue throughout the race.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that the top 3 basically no points scored at the 6-hour mark. But as we progress for the remaining 3 6-hour segments, it's going to change.
Yeah, you get points at 12, nothing at 18, but you do get them at the end, of course, the double points awarded right at the very end. So that's how we look in the Pro Cup, but it'll all shuffle around again potentially after another 6 hours have elapsed. So, safety car is not on track, but we've got cars very slowly going over the timing line, and I'm puzzled because I haven't seen any boards.
I mean, I would say they're running at a virtual safety car pace.
Yeah,
because there's supposed to be it's a full circuit. Everything is yellow all around the racetrack.
But there's nothing on the safety. There's nothing on the timing screen to say that we've had a full course yellow. There's a yellow flag.
But every sector's got yellow, so I'm assuming that must qualify as a full course yellow.
Now it's come up on the screen confirmed. It was late coming up, but yes, we have now got there. So full course yellow here at Spa, and that is because of the incident out on the circuit. And there it is, Andy Merrick's car. So the race is being led by Steph Dusseldorp. He is the man up front at the moment, and the race will battle into the darkness as the recovery operation is underway. It's been a very lively start to the 24 Hours of Spa. We'll see you in the morning from OJ Borg, John Watson and David Addison. It's time for a beer. Good night.